All right, there we are. This time I was smart. I left everything off so I could go over and turn the sound off on YouTube so I can read the comments and we didn't have all the back pull. All right. So right off the bat, Ray Land says hi about 6 times from Georgia. Hi, Ray. Hunter Bonnie's in. Hello. How we doing, folks? I don't know where y'all are at. We was just starting to get nice and warm here in Colorado. And then I found out today, because I quit paying attention to the weather. I was getting depressed every time I looked at it. But didn't pay attention to the weather, and then started getting kind of cool and nasty looking today. So I thought I'll go look at it and found out we're going to get 6 inches of snow tonight. So hopefully wherever you folks are at, it's a little bit warmer. It's been a nasty February. That's all I can say. It's been one of the nastiest Februaries down south I can remember. Todd B's in from Virginia. Awesome. All right. So, as the title of the video or the live chat states, this is chat. I'm going to show off some new holsters, but I'm not going to do that right away. I want to do that a little bit later on in the chat. That way we make sure to get as many folks in as we can. We will show that here a little bit later on into the chat. I'll kind of read off what you guys kind of throw up there. Hunter Bonnie says, so I didn't end up going with the Walker. I'm going to order 3 Cabela's once I get used to the 1858 Remy. Now, 58 Remy, I'm not a Remington guy for a couple reasons. One, with my big bear paws, that gun just don't sit right with me. It rubs on this knuckle right here. I mean, every time I fire it, it wraps on that knuckle. And 2, I've not had good luck with my Remingtons being very accurate. My Pieta Remington is okay, but I bought it used, well used. It had been a cowboy action circuit for a while, and the barrel is pitted on it, so it suffers a little bit of inaccuracy from that. I mean, it's not terrible, but my freaking Bertie Remington made copy, my Bertie made Remington copy. That one, we went and tested the size of the chambers compared to the bore, and the chambers are undersized. So when that bullet comes out, it's barely engaging any rifling when it comes out. It's not very accurate at all. I've had a lot of people comment on that video and say, yeah, you can't shoot where the crap. It's like, yeah, you go over and look at some of my other shooting videos where I test the guns, and we're talking almost hole-in-hole accuracy on some of them. But that gun's just not well done. It shouldn't have left the factory. Zombie Killer, long time no see. We did a chat a couple weeks ago, and I hadn't done really much for videos other than that boat project video, and I've got some stuff I've got to get uploaded and done. I've just been busy doing holster stuff here for the last week or so. So it's been kind of slow on that end, but yeah. And this other thing I was going to talk about tonight on the video content here. Things ain't going to go as according to plan, what I had planned for the summer. I'll get into that here in a little bit. Let's see. Todd B. I'm selling my 1894 Marlin rifle dated 1902 and 3220. I need the cash, but the gun shops near me says it won't sell for over $1,000 because people want modern guns. Yeah, it's hard trying to sell some of the older stuff. Best you could bet you could do it, put it on a gun broker, and I'd start low on your betting. If you want 1,000, I'd start at 800 on the bidding, I should say, not betting, bidding. And but I'm not an expert at that. So don't take my advice because you might get screwed. Somebody told me always start a little bit lower because then that gives them incentive to bid, and then I know that you can put a Pieta or not Pieta, Bertie Patterson on gun broker for $0, and as a starting bid, and it'll be over 1,000 within a week. Spy Hunter 705. Hey, Duke, remember me? Remember the name, but well, people I go through on the chat and stuff, yeah, it's hard to remember particulars, but I do remember the name. Todd B, I bought it for $1,300 5 years ago. Wow. Yeah, you might do better then. You might do good on Gunbroker, but I think with all the shortage of guns, there's going to be somebody out there that's going to want to buy something. The only thing is that 32-20, it's a harder round to find. Some of them older rounds that are hard to find, that's what turns people off. It's not the fact that the gun's old, it's the fact that the ammunition's hard to come by. If it was 45 Colt, I doubt you'd have very much trouble selling it. William Jefferson, you on Jeremy Gunslinger's channel? I've been on it. Yeah, we do chats together occasionally. Zombie Killer says nothing like having a good old dip of grizzly wintergreen long cut while watching awesome Duke's channel. Yeah, I used to chew the dip, putting wintergreen, spearmint, anything. I couldn't stand them. God, my lip would be on fire all day. I always did Longhorn long cut. I started off with a good old Copenhagen, but after I got to where I was costing me as much as cigarettes were, because that's when I started chewing was when I quit smoking cigarettes. I just swapped over. I was chewing the good old Copenhagen, but it was getting pretty spendy, so then I went to Longhorn. And Longhorn at the time in South Dakota, I could get a can of Longhorn for $1.99. I think a can of Copenhagen was almost $6. Spy Hunter, my ma got a revolver on Gunbroker. Yeah, I've got, no, I haven't bought anything off Gunbroker. I take that back. I haven't bought. I bought from Bud's Gun Shop. That's where my 73 single action, my 45 Colt come from. I got that from Bud's. And I bought 49 pocket model, what they call a Wells Fargo, which is a misnomer. I got that one from another auction. It was not strictly a gun auction. It was just a general auction site. But they had that one as Army San Marco. They had it. I had a Walker. I had a Patterson. I got outbid by the Patterson on $5. It went for $455 because I was afraid I was going to get into a bidding war and get it up to $800. And sometimes on them bidding wars, if you ain't careful, you can get screwed right quick. So I didn't keep bidding, and I had the bid in for that little one. I'm glad I didn't, because if I'd have won that Patterson and that little one, oh, Jesus, I'd have been eating ramen for a long time. But I won just it. I've never fired it. It's kind of not terrible shape, but it ain't the best reproduction out there. See, Squibload signing in. Let's see, Zombie says he wants a Ruger Blackhawk and 45 Colt. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Ruger Blackhawk. Nothing wrong with Ruger in general. I just, I like more of the old style guns. And Rugers, the one downside they got is they're kind of high price for me. I'd love to have the hell is it? The Mini 14. I'd love to have a Mini 14, but just kind of living with what I got for right now and not worrying too much about getting anything else. Hunter Bonnie says, when you win a Patterson in an auction, it's really a win. Big old pain in the butt. Yeah. Yeah, and them things are really going. And I don't remember. I think EMF's still getting them in for $800 right around. But the Pieta Pattersons, I'm not happy with. I'll put it that way. I spent $600 on mine. It's a piece of shit. I had to spend 3 weeks going through, and the problem with mine was it was never fitted. It was just thrown together. They never fitted anything. Bolt wasn't fitted to the cylinder stops. Just nothing was fitted. And I went through and fitted it, and I got it to where it was working good. Then the wedge went to hell, and the wedge wouldn't stay in place. So I got pissed off one day, and I peened it out, and then I hammered it in place, and that's where it's staying, by golly. Todd B, do you like the Bertie Colt conversions? I love my 1860 Army conversion. I want to get the one that Cimarron offers. That the one where they've got the loading lever port still in the barrel and the ejector rod stuck in it. Can't remember which one that is. That one I'd love to have one of them, but last I looked, I think they're up to about $600 on Cimarron. I can only get that style through Cimarron. I've got a used Richards Mason from them. It's not the one that has it looks more like the 72 open top. And I like it. I bought it used again. It was well used. It had been a cowboy action circuit. And I had to put a new hammer in it. I've had to put a new trigger in it. I finally got it timed perfect. Or I thought I had it timed perfect. If I shoot black powder loads, it gums up and then it just goes to hell like that. But I like it. I like to use it. It's fun to shoot with smokeless. 51 conversions. I've got a Richards Mason. Laying around here somewhere. Where'd it go? Oh, it's somewhere on this leather working table. I've had all my guns up on the leather working table because I've been test fitting on holsters, seeing what guns will work in what holsters. Try to cross-reference and see how many I can get in one pattern. But it's Army San Marco and a lot better quality than the current ones. It's got the old style, the free float firing pin that sits inside the conversion ring, which is what Colt initially started doing with the conversions, but then they found out that it was a lot more expensive than to just slot the hammer and put a firing pin in the hammer. So it's one of the earlier styles of the conversion revolvers. But I like shooting it too. The only problem is the dadgum front sight won't stay on the gun. I've replaced the front sight twice now, and it will not stay. Don Blackstock. I'm shooting a Piet 1860 Army. Remington number 10 caps are hard to find. It seems. What you have an idea where they could be found? Nope. Several years ago, I went into Cabela's. They had number 10 percussion caps on sale, and I bought them out. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. If I find a deal, I'm going to buy them out. But I'm also doing video production, so kind of need to have the caps around. At the time I was doing video production, I needed the caps around. So I bought them out. I think I got 1,000, almost 1,500 caps. I bought 15 packs, all for under $100. And so I've been stocked up. I haven't really been looking. I've got 10, 15 pounds of black powder that I've stocked up on because, like I said, I was doing video production. I wanted to make sure I had plenty in stock. So I just haven't been looking around, so I couldn't tell you where you could find them. I've heard people saying that they've been seeing Winchester caps out there, but Winchester just makes number 11s. And I've used number 11s on pistols before. You're supposed to use number 10s. I have used number 11s, and they'll work. Just give them a little bit of a pinch on the side. You do run a little bit higher risk of maybe having a chain fire just because they're a little bit bigger nipple or cap on the nipple, but I've used them. The only time I had a chain fire is when I was using my uncle's 1860, and he bought some aftermarkets that wouldn't take an 11 or a 10. I mean, everything you put on there was loose, and that one gave me a chain fire one day. Okay. Hunter Bonnie, is it common to put ballistol on the back of the cylinder where it catches the handle? Yeah, when I oil a gun with ballistol, I oil everything. If you're talking about when it starts to drag from getting residue built up, yeah, if you get that spray ballast, just shoot it on that arbor and it'll kind of slick it up a little bit. WD-40 will do the same. The only thing with WD-40 is it seems like WD-40 with black powder residue, it starts to really bake into a real hard cake, and then it's hell to get off. William Jefferson, you ever get that strange feeling of missing the Old West? Yes, I've had that. That's when you know you're a history buff, is when you miss something you never saw in person. Hunter Bonniewood, Cabela's doesn't have caps, sad replica noises. Yeah. There's a company out there, though, and we talked about this in the last live stream. Look up 22 caliber reloader kit. It'll take you to their website. And if you go onto their products page, they have a cap maker. And all you have to do is take a soda, a beer can, any aluminum can, and you cut it out, lay it flat, and you put it in there, and then you just take a hammer and you whack them, and it punches out a bunch of little caps, and then you buy the compound from them. And I think they said that one of their packets of compound for priming will do about 2,000 rounds. Buy that, mix it up according to the instructions, and then you put little dots of that in each of the caps, and you've got percussion caps made. I've never tried it. I've heard people that have and haven't had a bad thing to say about it. So all I can say is, it might be worth it. $50 to make your own caps compared to, driving around wasting all the gas trying to find caps and no certainty of even getting them. It's kind of a trade-off, if you ask me. It's just right now, being I'm between jobs and the holster orders have been a little bit slow. I can't really afford to buy one to test it. Yeah, I would, if you're having a hard time finding stuff, that's what I would recommend. William Jefferson, let's talk about that and missing the Old West feelings. Randy's Weeg, have you ever tried 10.75 caps? The RWS. I have not. RWS is they're a little bit spendy, but they're hard to find locally, and I couldn't justify buying enough caps to justify the hazmat fee on something that I didn't know if was going to work. I'd rather have a little 10, so I have not tried them. I would love to try them, but I got to find a place that carries them in stock locally before I'll do that, because I think I was going to order some online, and yeah, it was whatever the price of the caps plus a $30 hazmat fee, and I thought, Jesus, it's going to run out to about $45, $50 worth of caps for 100 caps. I'm like, that ain't going to work with me. Not on something I'm just testing, don't know if I'm going to like. Because if they don't work, guess what? You're stuck with 1,000. Although in this market, I could have taken that 1,000 and marked them up and made profit. What they call those when they when people take something and mark up and make a profit on it. Oh, what the hell is that word? It's what they call the guys that sell the sports tickets, like football tickets. Buy the tickets and mark and then sell them for a hell of a lot higher price. My brain's not working tonight. Not scammers, not skimmers. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. If I was to start selling 40 Smith & Wesson at an inflated price, I could make a lot of money. I could make a ton of money. If I'd have known I had that many rounds of 40 Smith & Wesson, I wouldn't have sold my 40. Scalper. That's the one I'm looking for, Don. Thank you. Scalper, yeah. Yeah, I could play a scalper. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I sold my 40 last year because it started throwing a fit. dummy me, I could have fixed it for a couple bucks. No, I decided to sell the gun. And I got to looking around and I started finding boxes of ammo because I got in the habit every time I got a paycheck, I'd go to Walmart and just buy a box of ammo. And did that for quite a few years. And the thing of it is, there's times when I buy something, if I don't leave it out where I can see it for like a couple weeks, nonstop, look at it for a couple weeks, I'll forget that I got it. And yeah, so I bought all this 40 and I kept sticking it back on the ammo shelf in the back, and got more 40 than I thought I had. And 223, I got keep finding 223 brass because I kept buying brass all the time. I ain't got much on powder. I did buy a bunch of powder this spring to reload 223, and then I haven't reloaded any because I didn't renew my range membership because the freaking NRA pissed me off. Hey, Jacob, I remembered your name. All right. Todd B., what are your carry guns, trick guns? I always got my 38 special with me because before that it was my 40 Smith & Wesson. Then I went to a 38 special. Not my smartest move. And occasionally I have my shotgun with me. I have a Mossberg, they call them Shockwaves. I've carried that as a truck gun for a long time. Yeah, that's what I usually have. Yeah, it depends on the time of the year too what I'm carrying for a truck gun, because technically I'm a Jeep gun, but usually I always have my 38, and if it's hunting season, I've got my TriStar. If it's hunting season, I'm going somewhere where I might even have a chance of hunting, even if I'm just going to fish or something. That TriStar is in the car with me. Just like this spring, we'll have the spring snow goose conservation season going on. When we start trying to catch walleyes and stuff, I guarantee you that shotgun is in the car. Just in case I come across a big bunch of snow geese, which I don't see too much for snow geese in the spring down here where I'm at. In fact, the geese have finally stopped. We're not seeing very many geese flying around now. But the migration this year was very late. And me and a couple of guys was talking, and it's like, yeah, they need to adjust the seasons, because the last couple of years it seems like the migration's been showing up later and later. Okay, Randy's Weeg. I've heard that the old ones were better. The newer caps are okay for rifles. For revolvers, not so much. That's good to know. I know I had a buddy that had a Sharps, one of those paper cutters, and it would not fire. It'd fire once in a great while, and he was using the CCI musket caps on it. And somebody told him he needed to try the RWS, and he went to RWS. Problems were gone immediately. So RWS, I know their musket caps do pretty good. Hunter Bonnie, so what new holsters are we talking about? Tell you what, when we hit 30 minutes here in the live stream, we'll pull them out. Todd B., are you a 1911 guy? Yes, I am. I just can't never find one when I'm in the market for one. So the whole reason why I got a Smith & Wesson SD40 many years ago, that was my 40 Smith & Wesson. I went into the gun store with a full intent of buying a 1911 they had there. It was Rock Island, but it wasn't that one that's got that funky freaking what do they call it, the spring pin. It didn't have the bushing. It wasn't the old style. It was that modern 1911 style where you got to have a paper clip to take it apart. Didn't want to mess with one of them. Well, I went in, they had one that was the old GI style. It had the bushing, and you push it down, rotate it, spring comes out. I can't remember the name of all the parts. It's too late in the night for me. Anyway, I was going to buy it, so I waited till I got my next paycheck, and I went back in. It was gone. They didn't have it on the shelf. It sold. Crap. And so they had this 40 there, and I was looking at it. I was getting ready to take a concealed carry class, so I kind of needed to have something. And because at the time I didn't have any semi-automatic. All I had was my revolvers. So I bought that 40 Smith & Wesson. Well, lo and behold, Providence had me in that same store the next morning. And this is where the good Lord teaches you patience. I walked in and I walked through there, and I'll be damned if there wasn't the same 1911 model I was looking to buy. And I looked at the guy that sold me that gun. He's like, yeah, that came in on the truck this morning. He said, I had no idea it was coming, or I would have told you to wait. I'm like, crap. They were the same price at the time. I don't even know what they're going for now. God, it's been so long since I've been in a gun store. Just because, one, was in quarantine almost all of November through December and into early January. And two, being I'm between jobs, I got enough money saved up to pay the bills until my new job starts in April. But if I buy a gun, that plan goes to hell. So I can't buy a gun. I'm on a real tight budget. And then my summer job is going to be in Wyoming this year, so I'm not going to be able to do – well, I can buy a long gun up there, but I won't be able to buy a handgun. Not unless I get Wyoming residency, which is very tempting. If I could find a full-time gig up there, I would do it. I'm getting kind of sick of Colorado. All right. Hunter Bonnie, my stopping power pulls out gold plate 1911. Yeah, I love a 1911. I really do. And my uncle's got one, but he's got one of those that's got the self-captured recoil spring, whatever the hell they call it. That's the one you got to do the paperclip take apart. And he's got the short barrel, what they call a commander model. That damn thing shoots the damn low. It'd be all right up close, but the other thing is the 1911 is loud. Well, any of your handguns are loud, but I've shot 45 Colt before without earplugs in. It didn't bother me. That or 1911, 40 Smith & Wesson 9mm, all, God, they make my ears hurt. Which is why you should always wear hearing protection when you're shooting. JH, hey, what's going on, man? Haven't seen you for a long time. Rock Island in 1911 over $500. Smith & Wesson SD40 around $400. Wow. Okay, because, yeah, the Rock Island, when I looked at it, it was the same price as a Smith & Wesson SD40, which at that time was about $350. It's been a few years ago. Yeah, I would love, if I got a 1911, I'd get probably either Rock Island or an auto ordnance. I've handled an auto ordnance, and God, I love them. There's something about the auto ordnance 1911s. They just feel right. There's something about the feel. And auto ordnance made 1911s during World War II. That would be my two picks for 1911. I don't want one that's going to be fancy. When I buy a gun, usually I buy them cheap because I don't feel so bad if I beat the hell out of them. I don't buy safe queens, or I try not to buy safe queens. I've got one safe queen. Two safe queens because the second one I can't find ammo for. But yeah, it's when I buy them, like I said, I buy them cheap because I want to beat the hell out of them. And there's nothing, a Rock Island 1911 will run just as good as a Colt 1911, an actual Colt made. And they will run together just the same. All right. So I said that when we was 30 minutes in, I would show the holsters. We are 30 minutes in, so we're going to show them. I'm going to save the Bertie one for last. So this is one I made today. This isn't really a new style, but I thought I'd just throw this one out there for y'all to see again. So this is a style we offer. I haven't had any on hand because I only made 3 of these and then I sold them. This is for the 49 pocket model with a loading lever, the Bertie. So a little short, 4 3/4 inch. It should fit the one that doesn't have the loading lever as well. It just might be a little bit looser. But one thing I'll add is if you ever do order a holster from me, my holsters tend to be a little bit tight because I've worked in living history many times, and there's nothing more aggravating than when you're trying to do something like set up a TP, which none of you probably will set up a TP, but when you're trying to do something like that, setting up camp, doing demonstrations, you have to bend down, stoop. That's more aggravating than when your gun falls out of the holster. That's one thing. Most of my holsters you don't have to worry about is a gun falling out. The one that I have had with that is if you take the civilian half flap that I use for a Remingtons that I designed for Remingtons. If you stick a Colt in there, it'll fall out. It'll hold it with the flap down, but it's a little bit looser. So yeah, there's this one that is available. I know I had, like I said, I had 3. I sent one to Mark Hubbs. The other 2 I put on eBay, and one went immediately. The other one stuck around for a while. But those are available for order, and I'm going to be making a new style pattern for the 49 here shortly. Then this is a new pattern I'm going to show here. I'm going to take the pistol out of it. So this is a civilian half flap. This one and the other one I'm going to show are the same basic body patterns, just one's slightly different than the other one. Let me catch up on the chat here. JH says American Tactical Imports, Philippine made 1911. I have one. I haven't looked at that one. Todd B says Tisas makes a great 1911 for like 300, 400 Turkish company. Yeah, I've looked into those. The only thing that turned me off from them is I shot one and it had a terrible trigger pull on it. I mean, it's like a Nagant revolver trigger pull. That's what turned me away from them. Otherwise, yeah, there's nothing wrong with them either. Jay says Turkey's making some great guns. Their shotguns are very nice. Yeah, my TriStar, my main hunting shotgun is made in Turkey. In fact, I think it's somebody told me it's the same factory that's making the semi-auto 20 gauges for Mossberg USA, not Mossberg itself, but Mossberg USA. So they're an import off of them. And I have nothing bad to say. I've heard people say that they've had problems with it. One thing I've heard consistent across the board is that the TriStar customer service is top notch. So if there's something wrong with your gun, they will address it. You don't get to run around like you get with some of the other companies. But my TriStar, I've never had a problem with it. I've been running. The only issue I have is some of the lighter hunting loads, skeet loads. It won't cycle them. But if you're in a duck hunting blind with me and I go to shoot, if you're on my right side, you better kind of step back a little bit or wear a face shield or something, because when that thing throws a 3-inch shell out, oh, Jesus. I hit my dad upside the head with one of them one day. I shot at a duck and it come over and hit him in the face and left a nice mark on his face. Let's see. Todd B says the machine work on high power is amazing. Tisas is making a high power in stainless too. Ha! I have to look into that. I haven't really been paying attention to what the companies have been making much. The only thing I noticed is that Remington went under, Colt went under. Colt's now going to be run by CZ USA, which I'm not saying CZ is a bad company. I think CZ makes fine weapons, but you're not going to get an actual Colt anymore, which is very sad and unfortunate. But, hopefully they make some decent stuff. Maybe they can get the price down a little bit on them, too. That's one thing that turned me away from buying a Colt was the price tag, especially when I walked into a gun store. And the guy told me when I was buying my 4440, told me that the only difference between the Bertie and the Colt was the name that at the time Bertie was making the parts for Colt to put together. All right, so I've kind of gotten sidetracked here. I was going to show you. All right, so this is the next holster we're going to do. This is a new one. So this is for the model 1851 Navy and 1860 Army, and it will also fit the conversions. So the Richards Mason conversion will fit this one, and it fits really nice. Don't think it'll fit a single action Army. We'll find out real quick. I got this Airsoft 8 single action Army here. No, it will not fit a single action Army. But it will fit a Richards Mason. A little bit tight, but it'll fit. And it comes up, covers the trigger guard. Then you've got the half flap for a little added bonus. I really, really am a big fan of half flaps. I really love them. I don't know what it is. I just love them. I enjoy making them. The only thing is this one's kind of a prototype, so this strap here will probably, the retention strap will probably get readjusted and put in a different location on the future models, but it'll fit them. Like I said, fit the 51 Navy, the 60 Army. And this particular body pattern I made just long enough to where it can accommodate both. The last batch, excuse me, of Navy holsters that I made would not fit with a toe plug, would not fit the 1860 Army. This one will. So there's that one. Now, when you place an order with me, you got a couple of options for belt loops. This one, I'm kind of like these style of belt loops personally, just because they're easier to sew. I can use the thread and I just do it one pass. When I do the fold over, I've got to sew twice, two different parts. So these just make production a little bit faster and easier. But either one, whatever you want, you can get this style, or you can get the folded over part style. And if you want a little extra added, I can put a rivet in it too. I usually don't, but if it's ordered, I can put a rivet in the fold over style, which I don't have any holsters that have that currently to show off. And then the second one, so if you saw the cover image for the chat while you was waiting, you'll know what's coming here. This is probably one of the prettiest holsters I've ever made. So I don't know if Pete's watching, but I made Pete a holster that had fringe on it that was a copy of an original. And that was a very beautiful holster. I had a hell of a time turning that loose. And this one I just made. And this one I didn't make for anyone in particular. I just decided to do some practicing on my spot setting technique. And when I got done with it, I said, I'm not turning this one loose. I am keeping this one for myself. I was going to put it on eBay, and I thought, no, I'm hanging on to this one. This is going to be part of my living history gig. So this is also the new model offered. So this one, the body is exactly identical to the civilian flap I just showed. It just doesn't have the flap on it. Now, the thing on this one, with the spots, I lined it. And I lined it with some German brain tan that I had laying around. When I line these holsters, it no longer will accommodate a conversion because there's no room for it. But it will fit stiffly. It takes a little while. I guess I've had the 1860 sitting in this one overnight, and it's starting to loosen up. I imagine the 51 Navy will slide right in now, being the 60 is a little bit bigger on the cylinder. Yeah, really starting to get where it slides in. But this one is going to stick around me. But yeah, like I said, I lined it, which makes it stiffer, but it also protects the gun for the brass spots that go through. So if you're not familiar with what brass spots are, I always thought they was like a tack before I started getting into leather work, and I can't find my spots now. Where'd they go? I just had them here on the table. Like I said, I had this table cleaned up when I started making all these holsters, and now it is completely covered in leather, guns, and other junk. And my whole wide area that I had for working is now down to about what I've got on across the computer screen. There's a bag of them. So these leather spots, I always thought they was like a brass tack. furniture tack. They're not. So what happens is you've got this little thing that goes in there, and then two legs go in, and then they fold over. For those of you that aren't familiar with leather working, well, those are going to stick out on the back side. You can set them to where they go down and are real tight to the leather. You're supposed to take your setter and then put them on a hard surface and just do your final setting. I tried that on a piece of test leather and rubbed it across one of my guns, and it still rubs on the metal, so that's why I lined it. But if I was to offer a holster, if anybody wanted to order a holster like this, this one would be way up higher, much higher on price. And right now I'm not currently offering them because I don't have any leather to line with left, not anything big enough to do a holster. So hopefully here in the future I'll be able to offer those, but for right now they're not currently offered. But this body style is, and again, still got the same. This is the one I like. I've heard people say that this style over time leather will tear, but one thing I've noticed with the fold over styles is that a lot of times the stitching pulls out even when you glue it down. And I suppose that's why back in the day they had a brass tack. If you look at a lot of the old pictures, a lot of them have brass tacks in them. All right, I'm going to go back and catch up on the comments here. Okay, Jade says, hey, what do you guys recommend for a Colt single action Army clone? Can't afford an actual Colt. A Cimarron Model P is what I run. Or there's a Cimarron Frontier model. The difference between the two is that the Model P is made by Bertie. The Frontier is made by Pieta. And Dustin Weiniger has the Pieta. He has the Cimarron Frontier. I have the Bertie Model P. We was talking back and forth because I was going to talk about doing a video on there and things he had when I was going to have him send me some pictures. We found out they're basically the same dadgum gun. Other than Pieta has a little bit fancier finish on the grip, a little bit shinier. So either one of those. The thing of it is Bertie has gone to using that retractable firing pin system. The only way you can get a Bertie without that, the last I knew, was the Cimarron Model P, and you have to get the old frame. So what the old frame is, and I'll show you on this airsoft, the old model, the old frame model has this screw here that keeps the base pin in. The newer models went to that spring-loaded cross pin. They had to push, and then you can pull it out. Excuse me. I hate them because those things I've had to replace the body parts on mine a couple times on my 4440. But with this screw system, it just doesn't come out. But this is the only one I think Cimarron's currently offering that does not have that 4-click hammer. And you're going to have to pay for it. They're not cheap. I think I went over and looked on Cimarron the other day, and they're about $600-ish. I paid $5 for that one. But yeah, that would be one of the ones I recommend. And they do come in 4 3/4, 5 1/2, 7-inch barrel, 7.5-inch barrels. I never thought I'd like a Colt with a 7.5-inch barrel until I bought this one, and I love it. I love a 7.5-inch barrel. It's not forward heavy like you'd think. Shoots real good. And that 4 3/4-inch barrel that I got on that 4440, I could not hit the broadside of a barn if it was painted purple. Okay, so Serpent, speaking of Colt, thoughts on the standard manufacturing single action. That is a very beautiful gun. If you had the money to spend on that gun over a Colt, I don't know which one you'd want to do. They're both about the same price tag. It's just that when you buy a Colt, you're going to get the hammer that's stainless with the black on the couple of the. It's a stainless hammer, and you're going to get the black plastic grips, black rubber grips, whatever they are, the hard rubber grips. If you go with the standard, you get a very historical looking Colt, and to me, I would choose a standard over it, but they're very beautiful. I just can't justify the amount of money that they want for one. Because the last I looked, they was right at $2,000, which like I said, I don't buy expensive guns. I buy them as cheap as I can get. The only reason I got $1,000 sharps is because the next option up was about $2,400, so I did get the cheaper end sharps. Don says, "Wow, the spots look great." Yeah, thank you. The only thing that kind of got screwed up on the spots was up here on the top, and it's a little harder to see on the camera, but when you're up close, you notice it. But I put a line across there to set my spots on. Well, that line wasn't quite square to the rest of them, so it got out of whack. And then down at the bottom, I screwed up. So I come down here, and instead of going to the top and coming down, I went up, and I got this one down in the corner a little too far. And then I got an empty spot there, and it's wide enough I could get a tack in there. It's just that my tack setting tool or my spot setting tool won't fit in there. So, and setting a spot without that tool to guide it in there, forget it. It's a pain in the butt. But, yeah, that was, other than that, it turned out good. So this copy of this holster, I had been looking through, or I had looked through the gun leather book, which is Packing Iron by, what's his name? Can't think of the author's name. By Richard Rattenbury. And I had seen a holster that had a bunch of brass spots on it. And I thought, I want to recreate that. And I was thinking it was this style of holster, a Slim Jim. And I remembered it having the spots around the outside, and I remembered it had some spotting in the center. And I, for the life of me, could not remember that pattern. And I couldn't remember where I'd seen it at the time, so I went looking, and I couldn't find it, and then I come across it. And the pattern that was in the middle, in the body, was Native American peace symbols, which I'm not going to say what they are. But, there was a certain German dictator in the 1930s and 40s that used that symbol for bad means, and now it's frowned upon. So I didn't really want to put that symbol on this holster and advertise it. So I went looking around, and I found a knife sheath that had this diamond pattern on it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to put that on that holster. So that's what I did. I put it on this holster, just kind of take up the space in the middle. I thought about getting more elaborate and going down. And I thought, no, if I want to use this for living history, I've probably got it fancied up enough. I'm going to leave it just like it is once I got the diamond done. So I really, really enjoyed making that holster. It took a lot longer than any other holster I've made, but I really enjoyed doing it. Okay. Todd B says, I love the EMF Pieta Californian too. And I've never messed with much. Like I said, I'm not much on a Pieta, man, just because they make kind of ugly guns. If you want guns that work, they make wonderful functioning guns. I cannot say anything bad about how a Pieta functions. I did have some issues with my Pieta 1860 Army when I first bought it, but Pieta, their parts are made out of better quality steel. They're just kind of better quality around. It's just that they don't make them look as nice as Bertie does. For reenacting purposes. They got, made in Italy right out in plain sight where Bertie hides it under the loading lever. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with a Pieta. JH says, nice work, thanks. Guns of the West, Dustin. I dig the spots too. How you doing, Dustin? Yeah, the spots are awesome, but took a bag and a half of spots to do that holster. And I'm not sure how many spots are in the bag. I think there's 50. This is a partially used bag. No, it ain't either. This is a full bag. Anyway, it took quite a few. And I had 3 that I had to pull because I'll give you a piece of advice. When you are setting a stamp, maker's mark stamp, or setting spots, do not use one of these round hammers. Because what happens is you come down, you hit it on the edge, and it rolls off the side and it jerks it around. I don't know how many holsters that I've had to put in the scrap pile because I went to put my maker's mark on this and it rolled off and bounced and screwed up the maker's mark. And when I was setting it, using it to set them spots, I had 3 of them where I come down and hit and the spot would go over and it would bend it over. It wouldn't punch it through the leather. So what I started doing to set those spots was I started using the end here, just coming straight down because I had a good flat surface to set. After that, I didn't have a single problem, but I'm going to have to get me an actual, hammerhead and mallet to start setting spots in my maker's mark, because this is good for tooling. It does pretty good for when I'm punching holes with my diamond hole punch. It works fine with this, but for detail work, don't use that hammer. It's not designed for that purpose. All right. Todd B. Standard and Colt are the same price. Standard is making a better gun, better case coloring, better attention to detail. Yes, I would agree. Their case color on them are outstanding. The grips, the walnut grips are outstanding. Everything about it is outstanding. But you can't get an actual made Colt anymore. Like I said, CZ took over, which nothing wrong with CZ. I'm not saying anything wrong with CZ. It's just that it kind of takes away from Colts. Randy says, nice holster work. Fabian, SP, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to read across the thing, and I've got little bitty letters, and I'm having a hard time reading names, so I apologize. Hello from Oklahoma. Jay Mary, back again. Welcome back. JH586 says, that's a great hammer for knocking open sprue plates on your bullet molds. Never tried that. Now you mention it, I might have to try that when I start. I haven't been pouring bullets for a long time. In fact, I need to go get my lead pot out of the elements. It's been sitting on my uncle's workbench out under his outside porch for a while. It's kind of rusted up. I'm afraid it's going to be shot, but I haven't made bullets for a long time. I didn't shoot all summer, so I didn't have any reason to, but I need to get out and shoot coyotes bullets one of these days, but that's not going to happen as soon as I thought it might have. Yeah, so I'll just kind of bring you guys up to date on that too. So I said in the last video on the future of the channel, I'd like to start doing some videos, fishing outdoor stuff, and get back into doing shooting videos. And that was with the idea that I was going to return to my regular summer gig. And, I'd be home in Colorado for the summer where I could do all this stuff. And I'd be working on my boat. Well, for whatever reason, and I'm not going to get into it because it kind of ticks me off when I start thinking about it. But basically, I did not get my summer gig back down here in Colorado. They said that I wasn't providing enough fresh ideas, and they was wanting to create more diversity, and I wasn't providing enough diversity. So they didn't hire me back. And I had a feeling they was going to pull that bull crap on me because it was coming. And so things I had that feeling back in my mind that I was going to do that. I had put in for a job up in Wyoming, also with the National Park Service, also at a living history site. And I guess the good Lord had me do that because he had a plan in mind for me. Because I didn't get my job down there, but I did get the job up there, and I did accept it. So I'm going to be heading to Fort Laramie, Wyoming, this coming summer, as far as I know for right now. Which means that I'm not going to be able to do my fishing videos down here like I wanted to. I'm going to take the cameras along because I might get a chance to do some fishing videos when I'm up there. There's a couple nice big reservoirs not too terribly far away. I'm not going to get to work on the boat like I wanted to. Not going to get to work on Grandpa's boat, which I'm very sad about. But, with the whole COVID thing, my credit card kind of got out of hand because I had to make up bills on it in a couple places when I was waiting for jobs to start between work. So this might give me the opportunity to get caught up before I jump into that project. yeah, I'm not going to get to do that. I don't know what they've got for shooting ranges up there, so I don't know if I'm going to get to go do any shooting videos. But you know, I'm going to try to at least try to get some content out there, but it's not going to be like I planned. And it's funny. It's like one of my favorite quotes from Deadwood, from Al Swearingen, when he's talking with Doc Cochran. And he says, announcing your plans is a good way to hear God laugh. And, you know, I announced my plans, what I had planned for this summer, and God laughed, and it didn't work out. But I have faith it's going to work out for the best. So hopefully, you know, and I've been wanting to go up to Fort Laramie for a long time. So I done gave away where I'm going to be working at. I try not to do that, but things are already done. I'm going to be working at Fort Laramie National Historic Site, Living History Site. And I've always had an affection for Western history, and that's, you know, Fort Laramie is big in the West. It's on the Oregon Trail. It was started out as a fur trading post that was established in the time period that I've usually been portraying for my living history stuff, which is the later fur trade into the Manifest Destiny era. So it's on the Oregon Trail. Was there, started out as a trading post, then become a military post in 49. Big place where they had the Treaty of Fort Laramie in 50. Well, they started out there in 51, then they had to move the actual location to do the treaty signing a little further away. But then it was also the center stage for the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. So it's got a lot of ties into Western history. And, you know, I think it's going to work out good. But like I said, it's just not going to work good for the plans that I had made. And the other sad thing is I don't know if I'm going to be able to take my dogs up there. I think I'm going to have to leave them to home, which I'm very, that's the biggest downside of this whole gig. Not knowing if I'm going to have my pups up there with me because they're like my kids. I like to have them around. But it's not too terrible far from where I live. So it's not like I'm not going to be able to come back and see them once in a while. But yeah, that kind of screwed up the plans for the summer. So we'll just have to kind of sit around and wait and see what happens. I might have videos this summer, and there may be a long dead period again. We'll just have to wait and see. Let me catch up on the chat here. Jordan Bell, long shot. Have you ever made a leather rifle or shotgun scabbard? No, because the amount of leather that require that, I don't buy big enough pieces of leather to do that. I could do it. No doubt that I could do it. I just don't have a big enough piece of leather to do it with. Noah says, thanks again for my Rigger Old Army holster. It's been great. I'm glad that it worked out for you. Yeah, you and another guy had ordered them for the Rigger Old Army, and the other guy never got back to me when I told him it was done. So I've still got one sitting on the drying rack, which is going to go up on eBay here pretty soon because if things don't work out and they don't do that new stimulus check, it's going to be hard to go to Fort Laramie because I ain't going to have enough to put a deposit on rent. But I'm hoping I could sell enough holsters here. I'm going to put a bunch on eBay. I've got one holster that's currently on order that I'm just about ready to get started on stitching it. But after I get that done, if I don't have any other custom orders, I'm just going to start doing a mass production. I'm going to put them on eBay and see how many I can get. I've got 3 or 4 pieces of leather left. And if I get that cleared down, I'm going to be out of leather. But if I make enough, I can buy more leather to get going. Jacob says, somehow I knew you were going to quote Swearingen. I always find a way to quote Swearingen. I don't know how many people have called me Al because I quote Swearingen. Jay says, keep on keeping on, fellas. Let's see. Whoops. Mr. Proud Boy posted something and then he retracted it. I don't know what he had posted. I didn't get a chance to read it. So The Saboteur 45. What's your e-boy store again? I don't know. I ain't got anything up there. I'm all sold out of everything. I have to go and look that up. That's a good question. I don't even know. I just log in and upload stuff and sell it. In fact, I don't even know if I have a store per se for it's just a general selling. Guns of the West. I'll be posting a review soon about Duke's Hell on Wheels holster for the Griswold and Gunnison revolver. Spoiler is fantastic. Thank you, Dustin. Yeah. I'm glad you like it. Yeah. That one was one that I had made too for I'd made that for a custom order. And then I told the guy that I had it ready, and he said he didn't have the money for it at the time. I told him, I said, okay. I said, well, if I'm going to put it out there and, if you want to make an order, just go ahead and order another one. It's no big deal. Never got back to me. And Dustin sent me some paper cartridge formers, which I found them, Dustin. They're still in the package he sent them in, sitting in my black powder case. But he sent me those cartridge formers, and I thought, you know what, I'll send him a holster for that. So we did an exchange of goods, and I haven't had a chance to use Dustin's. Like I said, they're still in the original package. I haven't opened them yet, but I've heard lots of good things about them, and I have no doubt that they are quality. There was another company that was making copies of daggone, I forgot his name. Cliff Manley's cartridge form. There was a guy that was making copies of them with Cliff's blessing, and I got a couple of them and wasn't very pleased with the outcome on them. Mr. Proudboy, you make holsters for Pietas, Griswold, and Gunnison. Yeah, so Griswold and Gunnison is the same size as a 51 Navy. So anything that'll fit a 51 Navy will fit a Griswold. And like I said, this style will also fit an 1860 Army. So this one would do anything 51 Navy, 1860 Army size. So yeah. But the Bohannon holster, I made that one. And so far, I haven't made one of them for a little while, but that has been one of my most popular holsters that I've made since I started making holsters. It was like everybody was wanting one of them. And it's gone through two or three iterations. The current model now I've got it set to where it'll fit just about everything. It'll fit a 51 Navy style, real nice. It's not too tight. Remington's a little tighter. It'll fit them, and it will also fit a single action Army. But the barrel sticks out. The only downside to that is with the barrel sticking out on the single action Army and the Remingtons is that front sight catches when it comes up. And on the Colt styles, if it's got a really wide loading lever latch system. If it sticks out real far, like there's a Pieta that I had for a little while that had a real wide one, that will hang up on the way out too. It's just the way it is. It's a Hollywood copy, so it's not designed really for use. It's designed for looks. Hey, there's Trapper Paul. So Trapper Paul's the one that got the other real pretty holster I made, which I don't have a picture of currently. I lost that when I lost my hard drive. But yeah, that was the other pretty holster that I made that I was hating to turn loose. But this one I ain't turning loose of. This is staying with me unless I get really, really, really hard up for money. Then I might sell it. But I was watching Weaver Leathercraft. So I've been watching their live chats for a while now, and they was talking today, and Chuck was saying, Chuck Dorsett's the spokesman for him. He runs a YouTube channel. He was saying, whenever he's gotten to the point whenever he makes a project, he always makes two of them. That if it turns out real nice and he wants to keep it, he's got one for himself and one that he can sell. Oh, Garrett Woods is signing in. Hello, Garrett. Scott Grumpy, I have a Griswold and Gunnison being delivered tomorrow. Awesome. Yeah, I thought about buying one of them, but like I said, the downside with them is the ones made by Pietas, they've got all the Italian markings right out in plain sight. Mr. Proudboy says, what's your price on holsters? I got a price list. I can't remember what it's at. Let's see, the civilian half flap that I make that fits the Remington. I sold that to a guy for $65. So figure on these Slim Jims about $65. $65 a pop for these. The Bohannon, I think I raised the price to $70. Yeah, I think I had $70 on them. Mexican triple loop is $75. Regular double loop, which I don't have an example of. Well, I do, but it's not finished. So this is a double loop. Let me kind of fold it over and put it together. So one downside to these double loops, they're a pain to get folded over. So the Bohannon and a double loop like this will run you $70. Triple loop $75. Like I need to find I need to make a new price list so I can answer this because I always forget what the price I put on them. Let's see the where'd it go? I just had it. The little 49 pocket model holsters. I think I was running 50 on these, 45 or 50. So not outrageously priced. It's more than what you're going to pay for a Cabela's made holster, less than what you're going to pay for a real professional grade holster. And so it's kind of in the middle, but you get better quality than what you get from Cabela's. And I'm not going to say mine's better quality than other makers because there's guys out there that have been doing it for years that make some outstanding work. Yeah, I don't know if you all are familiar, but David Carrico, he's a leather worker, makes saddles and stuff. He makes some very beautiful holsters. Oh my God. I ain't nowhere near being as good as he is. He makes some beautiful stuff. And if you want very, very, very high quality, I would recommend you to him. Mine isn't that good of quality. Mine's good, but not that good. Mr. Proudboy says, I can't seem to find anything that'll let me carry butt forward. That's kind of crazy. These are designed butt forward, cross draw, left hand. So this one sets not real strong butt forward, but more butt forward. This one sets there. Or if you want to do like a cavalry, so it's on this side, all I got to do is make a left hand cross draw. But yeah, I always like to carry them like that. I hate carrying these longer barrel guns straight up and down because you got to raise them so dadgum high to get them out, especially on a walker. Holy crap. I tried to make one straight up and down for a walker. Never again. Yeah, most of my patterns are for butt forward carry. The only ones I know of that are on the market, Cabela's makes a couple, and you get them. I think it's $30 a holster, but they're kind of crap. And it sounds like somebody's messaging me on Facebook. Sorry for that bling. Oh, Santee was letting me know that he missed it. I'll just type in. We're still going. Check a couple of other things here because just buddy of mine was posting with these. Oh, hey, he's got a picture with his holster. I'll have to share that and I'll check with him and see if he'll let me use that in a video here. But yeah, he's posting with the one I made him. So I'd made him his friend of mine. I made him one that had this style, and he's got it to where it's straight up and down. So they can be accommodated for either one. See, I need to catch up. JH586, do you make belts? No, I don't, because they're kind of a pain in the butt without a sewing machine. I hand stitch everything. Everybody asks me for belts. I should just start making belts. I might make more money. What do I recommend for a belt? Well, depends on what your use is. So most of the stuff I portray is pre-cartridge era. Let me grab my belt that I use. So what I carry all my holsters on, because I don't do anything for cartridge areas, I just have a plain old 2-inch leather belt. So I just bought this. This is actually chrome tan. It was advertised as a veg tan belt, which is not. It's chrome tan, but I bought it. It's same heavy weight as the veg tan that I use for my holsters. It was just a belt blank. I bought the roller buckle, which, excuse me, I always thought roller buckles were something modern. They're not. They're historically accurate. And this is what I carry. Carry my guns on when I'm doing historical portrayal. And one thing I'll add, if you get this style of belt loop for a holster, it's recommended that you do so. Put it on a belt without the gun in it, and get it situated where you want it before you strap it on, because once that gun's in there, this thing doesn't move. But yeah, I've got that slit just wide enough so that if you wanted to carry it straight up and down, it'll go straight up and down, or it'll go a little bit butt forward. But yeah, this is really all I use for a belt. I've got one that I started. I've not finished. I don't even know where it's at now. A cartridge belt that I was making for my 73 single action. And, I gained a little weight, so I took the belt that I was using that didn't fit, and I added a little bit of length. Well, now it's too daggum big, and it sits way down below my butt. But that's the only belt that I've started making. For recommendations on a belt, I guess it would depend on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a cartridge belt, like I said, Dave Carrico makes some great stuff. Let's see. Trapper Paul. Yeah, Duke made a great holster for my Navy. Very nice. Duke does great. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Garrett Woods. A little off topic, but does your Model P like the 200 grain bullet or the 250 grain? So I shoot in 250 grain Black Hills ammo, and it did okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was about average, acceptable. I reloaded some black powder loads with a 200 grain bullet, and in the 45 long Colt, those didn't perform as they performed about like the 250 grain did. Not great, but good, for what it was. It wasn't throwing a pattern like this at 50 yards like my 4440 does. But what really, really worked well in that Model P was the Schofield load with that 200 grain bullet. So I loaded some Schofields, and the bullets I was using were from modern 45 ACP, modern smokeless ammo. They don't have anything for a groove ring. And I'd fired the 45 Colt in there, and I'd leaded up the barrel, something bad. And even with a leaded barrel, those Schofield 200 grain Schofields were shooting a pattern about that big around. Shooting a group about that big around, right about 15, 20 yards offhand. Mike Bellevue, I watched one of his videos where he was testing a Colt 45, and he had similar results with the Schofield loads. They perform much better. So yeah, that might be something you look into, is a 200 grain bullet and a Schofield load. I haven't tried reloading pistol with smokeless. When I started thinking about reloading 45 Colt with smokeless, that's when powder started to really disappear this year. So, on Blackstock, looks like you have a welt sewn into that holster. Could you show us the belt loop for the cross draw? I do not have a welt sewn into this holster. What you're seeing there, let me pull it off this belt again. What you're seeing there is the lining. So I lined this holster. And so the lining I did it all the way through. So that's what's looking like a welt. If you wanted to have one like this that was lined for a conversion revolver, I would have to put a welt in it because a conversion revolver will not fit in this. I just I don't play around with welts because they're a pain in the butt for the style of sewing that I do. The belt loop for the cross draw. So this is the one I've got currently. The other one I have is just one of those fold over belt loops. So it's sewed up on top and folded down. And I don't really like them because it seems like the strings pull out, and I hadn't really used rivets before to set them. But this is the style. So basically what it is a round piece of leather, and then I've cut 2 slots for the belt, and I offset them from each other. One's a little higher than the other, and that allows it to set, at an angle. And like I said, if this one I've got set for a 2-inch belt, and it's just got enough give room that you can set it straight up and down if you want, or you can angle it. And I prefer them angled. It's just they draw better, they ride better. If you're riding a horse, they fit a lot better. Hey, there's Santee. He made it. All right, so YouTube flagged this one. I'm going to go ahead and show it. So Tan says, looked at Taylor's & Company's website today, just not in stock all over the place, revolvers and rifles. Yeah, that's something that's very common. The Italian reproductions aren't coming in because, Italy got hit hard with the COVID, so their production is down. I heard there's some starting to trickle in. Just COVID's got everything screwed up. That's all there is to it. And with the new administration, it ain't going to help anything. And that's as much into politics as I'm going to get into tonight. Because if I get started, I'm going to lose subscribers if I get going too hard. That and I'd probably get knocked off YouTube and demonetized and all this other stuff. JH says, dude, I would love to own a Schofield. I would too, not for the price tag. That's the only reason I don't have a Schofield. And I don't currently offer a Schofield holsters because the price tag on them. If I could find a used one in the $600 region, I would think about it. But God, I just can't justify spending that big of much money on a handgun. I've got my limits when I buy. So if I'm ever thinking about buying again, I will not spend over $500 on a handgun. I would make an exception, like I said, for a Schofield, used Schofield, if it was in good shape. I go up to about 6, maybe 7. And I don't get over 1,000 on a rifle. I've got 3 rifles that I spend $1,000 on. Well, one's not really a rifle, it's more of a shotgun. My Sharps rifle, I spent $1,000 on that. My Brown Bess musket, I spent $1,000 on that. And my 6.5 Creedmoor with the scope and everything that I put on it, it came out to right at $1,000. Actually, a little over $1,000 because I got a $500 scope on a $600 rifle, $700 rifle. So I got my limits. One of these days when I actually have a full-time job that's year-round, pays really good money, and I'm out of debt, I might start thinking about spending more. A couple that are on my list is a Spencer carbine and Springfield trapdoor carbine. But them have gotten to what I consider to be ridiculous prices. The Spencer I can see. There's a lot of iron in a Spencer. A lot goes into making a Spencer. The Springfield trapdoors, there for a long time, you could get an original a lot cheaper than what you pay for reproduction. I mean, like half the price. But, I don't like shooting original guns. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I just, if I destroyed it in any way, caused it to be destroyed, I couldn't live with myself. Big D, I like the toe plug you put in the holster. Yeah, so when I started playing around with toe plugs were a pain in the butt. Because I was using at the time a round all punch. And I'd be going along and then I'd blow out a section of that toe trying to push the hole through. And I got to where I just wouldn't mess with them. And then I was watching a video of a guy making a holster and putting in a toe plug, and he had one of these tools, which is a diamond awl punch. And I bought one, which had a blade that was only about that long, and it worked slicker and slick. The only problem was that because the blade was so short, when you punched it in, it left marks on the toe plug where the handle would hit. And I didn't really like that, so I was on Tandy one day and just kind of cruising along, and I found a Craft Tool Pro, and it had a lot longer blade, so I bought it. And when I got it, I got a rough piece of shit that wouldn't punch through a piece of paper. I mean, this thing was a piece of crap. So I went over to my uncle's house, and I took some 400 grit sandpaper. And I sit there and started filing down or sanding down on the edges to when I finally got this thing sharp. Now I can have the toe plug in faster than I can sew the rest of the holster. Yeah, I mean, just slicker and slick. The only thing is, any of you out there that start doing your own leather work, when you're doing with toe plugs, you need to go to a little bit wider stitch pattern. So usually I use this for my stitching size. It's just a standard pricking iron. But when I go to putting in the toe plugs, I go to this roller, which I think is 6 inches per inch. And this widens it out, because what happens is when you put a toe plug in, there goes my phone. When you put a toe plug in, you got a wide stitch around the outside, a little bit wider than what's going on here. Once you're in here, everything's real tight. There's not a lot of room. That's where this awl comes in real handy. What the hell do I do with it? Oh, put it back in the box. So what I do is I get my toe plug all finished up, ready to go. I get it stuck in there. I glue it in. I cinch it down and put some weight on it so it gets glued and stuck, because trust me, it's a heck of a lot easier to sew these when they're glued in than it is when they're loose. But then I go along and I just line up with the holes and I just start punching. I'll punch the bottom two. And then I try to keep them as close together as I do, and I kind of push outwards, going around until I get to here. Then I start on the other side and I punch. I try to start them low where they're not perfectly in line. If you put them perfectly in line with one another, what happens is when you get up here, you got the holes so close together, they just tear through each other. So I kind of space them out a little bit, and it takes some practice, but once you get it done, I mean, you get I don't know how well it's going to show because the light's not in the right spot. Once you get it done, though, they look real nice. I've seen a lot of holsters in the historical pictures that had a round toe plug. Round toe plugs are out. You're going to have to put it in. These teardrop shape, they work perfect. I've never had a problem doing a teardrop shape. But a round toe plug, I hate them things. All right, let me catch up on the chat because it's hiding them again. I don't know why Tams is getting YouTube's flagging you, but they keep flagging you. You must have ticked them off or something. There, I got it showed. All right, so let's see. Mr. Proudboy says local Cabela's here has some 1851s in after 6 months and nothing. Still can't get caps or black powder though. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to find. Like I said, when I buy black powder, I buy it in bulk. So I've been good on black powder for a while, and caps I bought in bulk. I know everybody's saying, "Oh, you're a hoarder. You're a prick. You got to think of others." But you know what? I run a YouTube. At the time, I was running a YouTube channel and I was shooting a lot, and I still run a YouTube channel, but I was shooting a lot more then. I needed them a lot more. I needed to have them in stock, and so I bought them when I could get them. Let's see. Arizona Ghost Riders. Says, yeah, what the hell? They've been expensive since they came out in 95. Yeah, you talk about the Schofields. Yeah, they're expensive. Ain't no doubt about that. Anything's been expensive. God, they're all the repos are kind of, well, except for the Colts. Colts ain't bad, but Schofields, Lamat, you can't get a Lamat now for under $1,000. I think they're $1,400 now. Jesus, when I started in on the black powder shooting, it was $600, and that was about a decade ago. Walkers are up to $500 now, but Walker, I can see that. A Walker's got a lot of iron in it. That some of these are just getting ridiculous, and a lot of it is it's some price gouging just because there's not many around, and current people running the. Now I'm not going to get into politics. JH saying Tans, I was looking at the Taylor's Tune Smoke Wagon the other day, very tempting. Yeah, I've heard good things about the Taylors. It's just that Taylor's the Berties they carry now. They carry the ones that's got the 4-click hammer. I refuse to mess with not 4-click, the 3-click, the retractable firing pin. I don't want to mess with the retractable firing pin. It's pain in the butt. Santee says, wow, I never thought to sharpen my awl. Duh. Yeah, I got this one so sharp now that I have to be careful when I'm poking because I poked myself in the thumb one day and didn't even feel it. And I had to throw a holster in the scrap pile because when I got done, it had blood all the way around it. Never gave it a thought. Oh, let's see. Early Curly. Bought a Slim Jim holster. Not real happy with it. Need to modify it. Which one did you get? If it's a Cabela's made one, yeah, I'm not. They're not the best. Squib load. I paid $450 for my Lamat. You got lucky. I don't even think you can touch a used one for that. And then the Pieta did the same thing with the Star double action, and well, the Stars in general, single and the double actions. I forget who I was talking with. It was Mark Hubbs or if it was somebody else. I was talking with somebody, and we was discussing the price increase on black powder revolvers, and he said, yeah, they did the same thing with the Stars. They jumped the price up, nobody would buy them, so then they just quit making them. So I imagine the Lamats are probably going to go down in sales, and they'll eventually just quit making them. The Bertie Pattersons, that's what I was talking with. The guy that runs Cimarron Firearms. I called him one day and asked him if they'd talked with Bertie about making a run of Pattersons, and he said nope. He said because nobody was buying them. Bertie had a lot in stock, and I finally just said not making them anymore. Squibble, that was 20 years ago. Yeah, I could see that. $450 20 years ago. Early Cabela's, I think it's Triple K. Yeah, I've got the same too. I bought them. I bought them when I wanted a couple of Hickok holsters, and this was before I had the desire to start making my own holsters. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of a backstory why I got into holster making. So I was buying black powder guns, and I didn't have any holsters or anything for them. I think I had one or two holsters that I got off my uncle. And I decided, I was like, I want to get a couple Hickok styles. So I ordered the ones from Cabela's, the Triple Ks. Got them in. Wasn't real impressed with what I got, but for $30 a piece, I wasn't complaining too heavily. So then I did the video on traditional carrying of revolvers. And I was thinking, I don't have a Mexican loop holster. And I thought, I don't have a holster from a Walker either. I just don't have a whole lot of holsters. So I went online and I got to looking around, and I had just bought the 1862 Pocket Police model. And I was dinking around on eBay, and I found this kit for revolver holster kit. And they had a Walker kit, and they had this kit for the Pocket Police models. And I thought, what the heck? I'll just buy them. It was only like $25 a piece, so I spent $50, bought a couple of them. Realized that, when you get the kit, all you get is cut out pieces of leather, no instructions, no tools, nothing. So then I ordered me just a basic leather making kit. It came with a real cheap edge beveler. Came with this tool, which I use. Was out of that kit. It's probably one of the most heavily used tools I have. Came with that. It came with not that. It came with that this stitch marker. came with the pricking iron set. So yeah, out of that kit, these are the two I use the most: is the pricking iron and the stitch groover. And got them, and I made the holster for the pocket bottle. Got it done, got it dyed, looked great. And then I started on the Walker holster. I never did finish it. In fact, I still got it sitting here somewhere, sitting right over here on my toolbox. Anyway, and I got to thinking, I'd really like to have a double loop holster for my 4440. So I went looking for patterns. And I looked how to make patterns, and I couldn't really figure it out, come up with anything. And a friend of mine, I put a thing on Facebook about trying to find patterns, and a friend of mine on Facebook, and fellow living historian and reenactor, said, "What kind of patterns are you looking for?" I said, I've got a single action Army with a 4 3/4 inch barrel, and I said I've got a Richards Mason conversion. I said I'd like to have a couple patterns for each, a couple double loops. He said, "Send me your address." So I sent him my address. A few days later in mail, I get a couple patterns that he drew out. I took those patterns and I copied them to some craft paper, put them on leather, and I made them. And I got thinking, you know what? I might make a little money on this. So I started making holsters, and then I adapted the 4 3/4 inch double loop to make a Bohannon holster because I wanted a Bohannon holster. And I thought, if I make these, maybe I could sell some of them too. And that's kind of what got me started selling them. And then I bought the packing iron book, and things just kind of spiraled from there. And I've been adding to my tool collection, and I finally got to where I could produce some pretty decent stuff. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos on making them too. One of the most helpful and insightful videos I ever watched was on Hank Strange's channel, where he was doing showing how Sam Andrews makes holsters. And if you don't know who Sam Andrews is, he's another one of those top tier, high quality holsters. If you got the money, I highly recommend it. He's got some good stuff. I just don't have the money to buy from him, but yeah, he makes some quality. Anyway, I was watching how he makes them, and he showed how he stitched them, which he uses a machine. I can't afford a machine, and showed how they finished the edges and stuff. And so I thought, you know what? He's making good quality stuff. I'm going to take some lessons from him. And so I started edging, and I learned how to slick the edges. And yeah, and my some of my first holsters that I turned out, I got to looking at them, and I looked at that Cabela's holster, and I thought, holy crap, these are a lot better. I could probably sell these and make a little money on the side. So that's what got me started. All right, I need to catch up here on the chat. Todd B. Bertie needs to make the Colt 1877-78 double action revolvers. They do make a copy of them. They call them Colt Light or the Lightning models, but they're not the double action or single action, and they're in 38. But yeah, their Bird's Head Lightning model is a pretty close copy of them. Early Curly, the revolver wants to fall out when I take the belt off. Yeah. That's a big thing on why I make my holsters just a little bit tight, or try to make them a little bit tight, is holsters fall out. I don't think currently I've got a holster made that I have a problem with them staying in, except for, like I said, I've got that one flap holster that's designed for the Remington, and will also fit the single action Army. If you stick an 1860 Army or a 51 Navy in there, it fits loose enough that it would fall out. But things, it's a half flap. It's got that flap on there. It stays in. But what you can do, and I'll give you a little secret. Well, I don't know if it's a big secret, but if you've got one of those cheap holsters and you're having a hell of a time getting them to stay in, what you do is you take a hole punch. If you don't have a hole punch, nail works good too. Or pocket knife, small blade pocket knife, something that you can egg out a hole. Punch 2 holes right up here, real close together. So about like where these 2 spots are right there. Punch 2 holes through it. Go to town, get you one of those leather shoelaces. And then you take and you fold it over in half and run the ends through them holes, and you now have a tie-down thong on top, and it will keep a holster in. I've had to do that on. I had to do that on the Cabela ones I bought. I had to put that in there. Well, I did that on one of them. The other one I cut apart and tried to use for a pattern, and I didn't like it, so I never used it. Yeah, that will keep a revolver from falling out. That's the easiest, quickest, most cheapest way. Just punch 2 holes in it, run some leather string through it, shoestring, you're done. Whole gun will stay in. Big D. Okay, Duke, you should make a Billy the Kid holster like the one he's wearing in the famous photo of him holding the Winchester. Looks like a round back Scabbard style to me. Know what you're talking about? Can't picture it in my head. So what I'm going to do right quick, I'm going to bring the computer closer so I can type. If everything, all the wires and stuff will let me do that. Oh, what the hell. Okay, sorry for jumping you around. Let me look, because I know what you're talking about, but I can't picture it in my head right now. Images. I don't know if I can find a clear image. Oh, that one don't show the holster. It shows the butt of the gun, but it don't show the holster. There we go. Oh, geez. I can't even see that. And that's not a very high quality photo either. Oh, yeah, that one don't show nothing. The thing of it is all the pictures that they got of him, they're small photos and I can't zoom in. So that's the one problem with the old historical photographs is it's hard to see on the pictures. And that one's so fuzzy. Yeah, I couldn't really tell you what kind of a holster he's got there, to be honest. I can't even tell if it's a double loop or single loop or triple loop or if it's a Slim Jim. So yeah, I can't do much off of that one, unfortunately. Let me look. Maybe they got his holster somewhere in a museum. Chances of that. Well, hey, somebody does make a copy of Billy the Kid's gun rig. Yeah, it's just a double loop. So it's very similar to this one. Let me pull up the chat again so I can kind of show you what's going on. So yeah, it's very similar to this style here, except it's got more of a rounded toe plug. At least that copy they had on there. See if there's some consistency, if there's other people that have that style too. Yeah, looks like they're all that style. It's a double loop with rounded toe. So that one wouldn't be too hard to make. In fact, I've got one. I actually have a holster that would probably match that pretty close. So there's a pattern I was making for a 5 3/4 inch. And this style of holster, I don't even know where the heck I've got the prototype laying around here, but nobody was interested in buying it. It was actually, I got that from a historical picture, but yeah, it's got the closed off round toe, double loop. So that would probably be pretty close to what you're thinking of. It's probably over in my scrap leather box. All right, I've got more chat. Whoa, got a lot of chats coming in. Now I keep hearing, Mr. Proudboy, now I keep hearing Bo Hannon holster. What do you mean? Hell on Wheels. copy of Cullen Bohannon, the main character. I make a copy of his holster. It's the first holster I offered commercially. Very near and dear. In fact, the very first one I made, I think Plowboy's Ghost got that. I don't know if Plowboy's in tonight or not, but he usually shows up about 9 o'clock when I'm getting ready to start thinking about shutting things down. So that's the one I offer. I currently don't have one available because I haven't had very many orders, so I haven't been making. I've been focusing on trying to make some new patterns, but it's like I said, it's a copy of Colin Bohan's, a pretty close copy too. Jay says I need a SAA clone and rig to match my Rossi 92 and 357 Magnum. Yeah, I could cover the holster, but the belt part would be hard to come by, or hard for me to do. I just I need to get a sewing machine if I'm going to do belts, because hand stitching belts is a pain in the butt. I spent 4 hours one day stitching, and I think I stitched a total of 6 loops because they're a pain in the butt. And the holster, the belt that I had made everything so tight that I had to bend it over my stitching horn, or not my stitching horn, Jesus, my stitching horse. Had to bend it over that to get in to poke the holes because the loops are so tight together. Mom Murphy says, "Hey, Duke, just found out you were on. We'll rewatch later. Hope you have a great live chat. Bye. Thanks for stopping in to say hello." Sorry, Early Kyler. So Early Kyler, yeah. See, I screw up pronunciation on names a lot. Jacob says, "Catch you all on the next one. I'm off for now. See you, Jacob." Jesus, Tans, what did you do to tick off YouTube? They flag everything you post. My God. All he said was, "See you later" to Jacob, Serpan, yeah, Jacob, and they flagged him. I don't know what the hell is up with that. Early says the solution is exactly what I wanted to do. Great minds think alike. Yep, it's the cheapest, easiest fix out there. It really is. And it'll take you a total of 2 minutes to do it, if not less. Rack Attack, hello. You should hold another Captain Ball shooting tournament over YouTube like you did 2 years ago. Yeah, I was going to do another one, and then life kept getting in the way that following year, and I never got it done. I wanted to do it, but like I said in previous live chats before, the NRA kind of ticked me off, which I didn't renew my membership with them, and when I didn't do that, I lost access to my shooting range because my shooting range is NRA affiliate. So if you ain't a member, they don't want you. And the closest shooting range that's totally free is about 50 miles away. So I don't usually go to that shooting range unless I'm on my way to go fishing, in which case then I stop by and pop a couple rounds. But and being it's a state run gig, I don't know how they would feel about me filming videos over there. But Jesus, Tans, they keep flagging everything you do. My God. I'll show it here because there ain't nothing wrong with what he's posting. All right. Tan says, Todd B, I think that would sell. They would need to redesign the mechanism. Bet the original was prone to fail a lot. Fragile. See what he was talking about. Yeah, on them. So yeah, Mike Bellevue had a video on the 77 and 78. He had a couple originals, and he said the 77 was all screwed up. 78 was a little bit better. But that's probably why they don't make them, is because if they're a pain in the butt then, they're a pain in the butt nowadays. JH is off. See you later, JH. Tans, they flagged you again. Yeah. Don't worry, I got you back, man. Tan says a sewing machine is a must. After using it, you will wonder how you ever did without one. The only problem I've got with the current sewing machines that are on the market now is, they look fine on the front show side of the holster, but you get on the back side of the holster and they look like crap every time. And I like for my holsters to look as good on the front as they do on the back. So you can, I don't know how the brass tacks kind of. And this one, the black dye got into the thread, so I'll show you this one. So on this one, so everything looks nice and tight there. Go on the back side, it's the same thing. The only thing I've noticed on a sewing machine is it looks nice and good up here, and I go on the back, and it doesn't look so good. It's one of the main reasons I haven't gone with a sewing machine. Now, if I could find a working Landis sewing machine, I would buy it in a heartbeat. Landis was a good sewing machine, and nobody makes them like that anymore. I would love to have a Landis, but God, it's just so hard to find. And when you do find them, they're halfway across the country, and it'd take twice as much gas to go get them as it did to buy one. And a lot of times they ain't in perfect functioning condition. That and they weigh about 1,200 pounds, so I'm going to have to get a shop and have a place to put it, because putting it inside the house here I don't think would work out very good. Early says, here in Kentucky we have open or concealed, no permit carry, and sometimes like a hog leg Grimmy. Yeah, I wish Colorado was that way, but they're not. But thankfully I'm going to Wyoming where, they're a lot nicer. Tan says, probably because I'm active in conservative chats, dude. Yeah, I can understand that. But like I said, don't worry, I got you back over here. As long as you ain't getting too political or too nasty or get to being a troll, I'm pretty mellow on everything. Not that we would disagree on our politics. I like for this to be kind of open to everybody. Because, there are people on both sides of the argument that like guns. It's just unfortunate the ones on the other side of the argument, even though they like guns, they don't like them enough to. Well, I ain't going to get too much into it, but you get my drift. I don't want to start a political argument on my YouTube, basically. Mr. Proudboy, Arizona is also open carry, no permit. It's nice. Yeah. What state just went to open? There was another state that went to permitless carry. I don't remember which state it was. If any of you chime in there, because I can't. My brain's not functioning right now. But I know that Wyoming is permitless. Kansas is. South Dakota is. I'm not sure about North Dakota. Texas, you got to have a permit. Which, of all the states that you require you to have a permit to even open carry, I would not think Texas would be on that list, but Texas is on that list, which aggravates me. Montana, I'm pretty sure is. There's a few other states. Let's see, Saboteur, South Dakota. Yeah, South Dakota is a no permit. I really like South Dakota. God, I just love that state. I hate the winter there, but I love the state. Same with Wyoming. I love Wyoming. I hate the winter there, but I love the state. And, the only part I've been to in Texas has been in the Panhandle, but I love Texas too. I just wish they had more. One of the down things the things that pushed me away from trying to find work or anything in Texas was the fact that Texas doesn't have a whole lot for public hunting land. Texas is a lot of private. And I'm a public land hunter. I would rather hunt public land than go pay somebody, $1,000 to shoot a deer or an antelope or a turkey. Thankfully, where I'm at here, there's lots of public land. Now, I will admit I do hunt turkey on private. I have a good friend that also my neighbor was very kind enough. He's got a small piece of land where he does his deer hunting and stuff, but him and his buddies, they don't hunt turkeys, and they got turkeys like crazy. So he's kind enough to let me hunt there, so that's where I hunt turkeys. Unfortunately, with me going to Wyoming this summer, I'm pretty sure my first day of work is going to be opening day of turkey season, and I drew a turkey tag this year for that unit. So with that, I could buy an over the counter. I could have shot 2 turkeys this spring, but I don't think that's going to happen. Big D says I live in Tombstone. That's another state. I'd love to go in Arizona, but yeah, I don't know why I haven't ever thought about trying to get a job in Arizona. Early says sick of politics. I love black powder guns. ARs and such are cool, but I love black powder. I feel the same way. There's nothing wrong with an AR. Absolutely nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with an AK. Nothing wrong with an SKS. Well, I say there's nothing wrong with it. I had an SKS once, and I had a problem with it that caused it to do something that I didn't feel was something that gun should be doing. It had a malfunction, and I did not own it for very long, I'll tell you that. As I took it to the gun store, I had them fix it, and then I told them, you can sell it while you're at it. Early OK Corral is on my list. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to go down to the OK Corral. Rack Attack, Montana's the most. Yeah, I think it was Montana that just did that, which I was surprised because Montana's kind of getting a little bit on the blue side of the argument, but they're suffering the same problems we've got here in Colorado, and somebody told me Wyoming's starting to suffer that too. Saboteur, some of the weird tribal laws is that for a doe tag on my res, it's $3,000 for a non-tribal member. Yep. So I worked on a reservation in South Dakota. I worked on the Cheyenne River, and up there it's $1,000 for a tag. I don't know what res you're on, Saboteur, but yeah, I understand it. It's ridiculous. The nice thing is the res that I was on when I was working on up there, that reservation, and I think Standing Rock, had sold a lot of their land in the dirty 30s to white folk, just because the Depression era, nobody had money, so people were selling land. So actually, a lot of the land in that reservation is privately owned, and there's a lot of non-natives that live there. So the way it works is, being it's within the state on non-tribal land, a state tag allows you to hunt. So, I did draw a deer tag up there one year. I did hunt up there one year, but then the weather went to crap on me and went to below zero for 3 weeks on end, so I didn't get back out and do any hunting. But yeah, with the state tag, and at that time, muzzleloader deer tags was $80 for that particular unit. Then after that, the state quit offering tags for it because the tribe started running a real weird deer season. Their deer season ran for like 8 weeks, which everybody I talked to up there is pissed off about that. But anyway, yeah. So if you want to hunt tribal deer season on tribal land, non-tribal member, you paid $1,000. But if you had a rancher you knew, talked to, if you drew just a regular state tag, you could hunt there, even within tribal boundaries. And it sounds like my mom was getting ready to go to work. She started up her car. Saboteur, I think that was the Dawes Act when the government called it surplus and land and opened it up. Maybe that's what it was. All I know is that Pine Ridge and Rosebud, they don't have near as much of that. A lot of that is tribal. Now, it is leased to non-tribal members because I had a buddy that they had a huge chunk of lease up in the northwest corner of the reservation, and I had a couple muzzleloader. And at that time, the muzzleloader deer tags in South Dakota was good for everything west of the Missouri River, except for the Black Hills Fire Protection District. And he invited me to come out because he said, we got so many deer out here tearing up our hay. He says, come out and please shoot them. And at that time, I drew my 2 tags. So when you put in for the draw, you got 2 tags. And then you qualified for 3 additional for black powder season. They were all doe tags because the state was trying to lower their tag or the deer population in some areas. And he invited me out there, and I asked him. I said, "Okay." I said, "Is this private or tribal?" He says, "Well, it's tribal. We got a lease." I said, "I can't even hunt on it because it falls under the tribal jurisdiction." Saboteur, but tag for trail members. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And same thing, the area that I was at had a lot of prairie dog hunters. You know, people come from New York to shoot prairie dogs on this reservation because they had such a surplus of prairie dogs up there. Yeah, for trail member, it was free to get a prairie dog tag at that time. I think you had to pay, non-members paid like 400. Nah, don't quote me on that. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But yeah, it was ridiculous. Mr. Proud Boy, shoot, I hated South Dakota those winters. That's the only thing I've got to say about South Dakota is the wintertime. So I spent nigh on a decade up there. I started college there in the fall of 2009. And I told myself when I graduated in 2015 that I would never spend another winter in South Dakota. Well, petroleum market went to hell. Things didn't work out. I wound up going back to work on the ranch that I worked on when I was in college. And, you know, I worked on there every winter up until last year. Spring of 2020 is when I finally got enough of everything and I quit and decided I wasn't going back. Because I was fed up with the wintertime. I was fed up with it. Couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do nothing. And, you know, working on a ranch, things are going easy. Yeah, you might have free time to go do things you like. When the weather's cold and the equipment's breaking down, you don't have a whole lot of time during the day. You got to spend a lot of time feeding cows. I mean, I couldn't stand it. And you know, like when I did get a day off, I couldn't go anywhere because it'd be snowed in. I had to miss the gun show in Rapid City 3 years in a row because we had blizzards that come in right on that weekend. And when a blizzard comes in on a ranch and it's calving season, you can't. You know, your hired hands have to be there on that ranch. They've got to be there to help keep things going. And so, you know, I missed it. But I just got fed up with the winter. I hated the winter up there. Hated the cold. I hate cold anyway. And what's funny is, first year I spent in South Dakota, I had talked with the professors and they said, yeah, he said this last winter wasn't that bad. We don't think this will be bad either. We had a week of 50 below my first semester in college. Oh, God, I hated that. Oh, Jesus. I actually got, because at the time I was a smoker. I went outside to have a cigarette and I got a slight frostbite on my fingertips because I was outside smoking. I never smoked with a glove on because I burned a glove up one day smoking a cigarette. So I always took my glove off to smoke, but God, I hated that. And then the next 2 winters weren't terrible. And, you know, we had some off and on. A lot of times we'd have those late spring. The last 2 years I was in college, we had those late spring blizzards that come in and dump 4 foot of snow, you know, in the middle of April. But then the winter 2015, it wasn't a lot of snow, but it was just damn cold up there. And then every winter after that, it was just tons of snow and tons of cold. And I just got to where I couldn't stand it. I mean, when you got to wear so many clothes that you look like the Michelin Man, you can't walk, you can't crawl up in a damn tractor without, you know, straining something. I just got so fed up with it. It's like, God, when the warm weather would come around, oh, God, I was so happy. But if you had a ton of snow on the ground, just turn into mud, which the mud's worse than the damn snow. At least the snow comes in, I can take the tractor and I can plow the snow out of the way. Mud comes in, you can't plow mud without digging a bigger hole, and then all the water runs in there, and the mud gets deeper, and the more you plow it, the deeper it gets. So, anyway, I went off on a tangent on winter. Let's see. Rack Attack asked me, ever shoot a NAA companion? The dinky little ball. No, I don't think I. No, I'm. Oh, I know which one you're talking about now. No, I haven't shot that. I have not. The dinkiest I've shot is the um, pocket model, Colt 49 pocket. I did shoot a dinky little. I think the same company you're talking about makes it the dinky little 22 revolver, 22 long rifle. When we shot it, we took it out to the target and you shoot it. Hell, you can almost catch the bullet as it come out the barrel. It had no energy whatsoever. And it didn't go very far either. It wouldn't even have been a belly gun. It'd be that was my phone, sorry. It would be a real close-up gun. Mr. Proud Boy, I used to hate when the shows would come to town. So many people crammed in that little town. Made my life a nightmare going to and from work. And I only have to commute like 4 miles to downtown Rapid. I didn't spend a lot of, well, I take that back. I did spend a lot of time in Rapid because I was at school of mines, but I never really paid much attention to what was going on. But all I know is when we went to the gun show, they had 2 gun shows there in Rapid. They had the collector show, which was at the Civic Center. And there were many times we went there, and that was standing room only. The first one we went to, holy crap, you couldn't get anybody in there. And that collector show, there was awesome stuff. I mean, I seen some real cool stuff there. And then the next year I went to the collector show and there wasn't hardly anything. There was a lot of empty tables. And after that, it wasn't that real great until the last one I went to up there, which would have been in 2016 was the last one I went to up there. I went to that gun show and I was looking around and, that gun show had turned into, the collector show had just turned into all ARs. That's pretty much what they had there. They did have some cool stuff though, but not like they had years past. They had a guy that was making muzzle loaders that, they was $10,000-$12,000 muzzle loaders, but they're inlaid with gold and silver. I mean, beautiful. If you had the money to spend, I mean, they were worth it. I mean, they were beautiful, beautiful pieces of art. But I was walking through there, and there's this one guy that I'd never seen at the show before, and he had some old guns there, and then he had this little old revolving carbine. And I didn't know much about Colts prior to, the Walker. I didn't know much about the Patterson era, what was made and stuff. So I'm looking at that revolver, and I'm sitting there thinking, God, that looks like a Colt. And I looked at the price tag, and it's labeled Eller's revolver, revolving carbine, it was 32 caliber, 9-shot. They wanted $200 for it. And I was sitting there, and there was a little voice in my back of my head saying, buy it. Buy it. And that voice just kept saying, buy it. God, I'm not going to buy it unless I learn a little bit more about it. So I went home, got on the computer, typed in Colt Ellers, and then I realized what it was. And I realized what the price tag was. That guy didn't know what he had. I went to the bank before they closed. I mean, I ran in the door about 2 minutes before they closed, and I said, I need to take out $200. I took $250 to cover taxes. And I ran back to the gun show. And I went over to that guy's table, and it was gone. Sold. Oh, I'm kicking myself to this day for not buying that. I should have bought it. But Saboteur says this one vendor has a big Browning machine gun as eye candy through it. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that guy, talked to him a couple times, and I didn't really like him. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about there. Yeah, and then the other gun show wasn't the territorial. It was the just a general. They always had it over at the fairgrounds, state fairgrounds. Me and a buddy went to that one. And we thought, it's state fairgrounds. There's not going to be as many people there. Jesus. You got in line and you had to follow the line. And you just walked all the way through and all the way out. They had that crammed into 2 little rooms. They should have had that one at the Civic Center. Many people was there, but that that show was mostly ours, but that was one downside to the Rabbit show is it got to be mostly just the modern guns, and nobody really had the neat old stuff anymore. Rack Attack, what do you think about Colt being sold to the Czech company? CZ bought it. So CZ makes quality firearms. I have no doubt that they're going to make quality Colt firearms. It's not going to be an actual Colt anymore. It's going to be just like the Japanese made Winchesters. I think the Japanese make wonderful Winchesters, but it's not a real Winchester anymore. I've looked at them and handled them, and they're just as good as your Bertie, but they're not. I've handled some of their 73s, but it's not a Winchester anymore, unfortunately. Really sad tombstone sound effect. Yeah. Yeah, I really wished I'd have bought that one. All right, so we've been going for 2 hours. Looks like the chat's kind of slowing down a little bit. So there's another thing I was going to talk about a little bit. So in the future, for all of you that are thinking about buying a holster, I've got some other models, styles I'm going to try here. I don't know how it's going to work out with, like I said, I'm going to Wyoming this year, so I don't even know how the holster business is going to run. I do plan on taking stuff with me, but one of the ones I'm planning on adding, a style I'm planning on adding is this one for the 49 pocket model right here. I finally found where I can get the old style finials instead of the screws type. So I'm going to see if I can find some of them, get some of them. I'm going to offer some of them little flap holsters for the 49 pocket model. And then there's another one on here I found that's real cool too. And I'm going to try to do this split screen on here. Let's see if I can do it. We're going to share screen. I'm going to go to Chrome tab. And let's see if I can share this. So there it is. So this is another holster I'm going to try to make. So this one here too is kind of it's a flap holster. But what's interesting about it is it's been modified with this. I can't remember what this sawtooth style design is called. You see it a lot on the historical leather clothing. It's a modified flap holster. I'm not going to say it's military. I'm going to say this is more of a civilian style. And I may be wrong. I may be 100% completely wrong on that. The reason why I think it might be a civilian style is because it does not have the strap that connects to the finial down on the side. Instead, it's got one just like this one, which you can't see, but it's got this style here. So there's a little hole in that flap for that finial to go through. So I think I'm going to try to replicate this one. The other thing that's interesting about this is the toe plug isn't actually a plug, it's a cover. If you look down there at the bottom, it comes up over the end of the holster, which I find really interesting. I think that's going to be a pain in the butt to sew. But I do believe I want to try to make one like that. I just wish they had more pictures of this one that that you could see what that looked like on the bottom, if it was rounded or how they did that. But I think that's a really cool design. And I'm thinking about trying to replicate that one. Let me catch up on the chat here. Mr. Proudboy, how can we buy them? Do you have an eBay link or something? I don't have an eBay link because I don't have anything currently on eBay. I probably will here in the future. I'm going to throw this banner up there. So that's where you can currently place orders, is at that email address. Let me add that to the chat here too. Oops. If you want to copy and paste it, you can. So you can send me an email to that email address. You can also email me through the Facebook page, which is Duke Fraser Productions. Not only on the Facebook pages, I don't always get the messages. I don't know. It's kind of screwy. But if you want to order a holster, that's certainly a good way to do it. Sometimes that works out better than the email because that email address, for whatever reason, this computer won't let me open it up. But I do have a desktop computer and I can get to it through my phone as well. But yeah, send me an email there or on the Facebook and tell me what you want. We'll figure it out. If you got something that you want custom done, show me pictures of an idea of what you want, and I'll see what I can do. Currently, I'm working on kind of a custom rig that a viewer was wanting, and I need to finish stitching it. It's in the process of being stitched. When I finally get it finished, I will show pictures. I'll post pictures on the Facebook page as well as the Instagram. Don't send messages for orders through Instagram because that's a pain in the butt. Yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me. And yeah, also keep in mind that sometimes I have a very long turnaround time. If life gets in the way, I do this as a side gig. This is not my primary source of income. This is a side gig. So sometimes it takes me a long time to get a holster done. Right now, I don't have a lot going on, so it's a good time to place orders. But once I start getting to where I have a regular job and, life starts kind of getting in the way, sometimes it can take a long time. I think the longest I had for orders was 3 months. And then, unfortunately, when I got to the end of that, people weren't interested or didn't email me back when I got their holsters done. I'm currently sitting on 2 or 3 holsters. I guess people got tired of waiting. Unfortunately, that's just how it works sometimes. But yeah, right now I should be able to turn one around within a month, I would think. But that's why I don't ask for money up front. So when you order a holster, I don't ask anything up front because I don't want to sit on your money and then make you wait 3-4 months to get your product. I don't think it's right. At the same time, then I kind of get screwed because then I'm sitting on a holster that nobody wants anymore. But yeah, don't plan on paying me until I send you an email and say, hey, it's done, it's ready to ship. Then you can send me the payment. And everything is through PayPal. That's the only thing I mess with now is PayPal. Because I had a check come through that my bank didn't want to do it. So somebody got a holster for free. But yeah, PayPal is the only payment method that I take. Early says, if I ever thought about going to Rendezvous or National Muzzle Loading Rifle Association friendship, I thought about it, but yeah, that's a long way for me to go. Maybe if I got to a point where I had a lot more money, freedom with finances, I could do that. But right now, it'd be such a long way for me to go that it's not an option right now. But somebody told me that they weren't doing the friendship shoot this year. Or maybe that was another one. I think somebody told me that Dixon's Gunmaker Fair got canceled. But yeah, one of these days I might make it out there, but for right now it's not an option. It's going to happen, unfortunately. But yeah, Mr. Proudboy, if and when I do get some more holsters put on eBay, I post the links to that on the Facebook page. So if you use Facebook, which that's getting to be kind of a pain to get around on too, just check out the page and I'll usually post them there. If not, I'll figure out a way to post them because YouTube kind of gets pissy when you post links. I know Facebook's starting to get that way too. All right. So it's currently 9:13. Looks like things are starting to slow down, so we might just shut this down here at 9:30. Of course, that's when people will start showing up pretty heavy too. Early says, I want to organize a rendezvous powwow in Western Kentucky. Yeah, that would be awesome. We have them out here in Colorado, but usually the time of year they have them is when it's hot and miserable. I got invited to go to one. I think they said it was in August, which I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm going to be working with. And that's the other thing. I never get a chance to go to rendezvous because they're always taking place when I got a job. And there's been a lot of them I wanted to go to, and I just couldn't because I was working. When you work for the federal government as a seasonal, vacation time is not something that they usually let you do, except for this past year. They forced us to do it because they didn't want to have to pay us out the vacation pay at the end. But yeah, I never get to. And usually when I start, a lot of the rendezvous take place early in spring. So once I start a job with the government, they pay out the vacation pay at the end of your season. So you don't have any vacation time when you start up again. So you don't have time anyway. So by the time I get vacation, they're not doing rendezvous. Oh, let's see. I've got to look through here and see if there was another holster I was going to show, because I know there's one I was thinking about making. What I find really cool on some of these holsters, these old style fancy ones, these got silver toes on them, toe plugs. I wish I could find somebody that made those for a reasonable price so I can make a couple of fancy holsters with that, because those are beautiful. But fortunately, you can't find stuff nowadays that was made back in the old days on some of this stuff. I was going to look through here right quick. Somebody brought up that Billy the Kid, and I looked it up on the internet, but I was going to see if they had it in here. I don't think they do. Get back into the loop holsters. Yeah, anybody that's interested in gun leather, I highly recommend the book Packing Iron. They've got a lot of cool stuff in there. They've got gun belts, holsters, cartridge belts, scabbards. Yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff. And the biggest section in here is the Mexican loop holsters, which those are awesome, but they're kind of limited in the time. Well, it's hard. I should say it's hard. Their time period doesn't match up with a lot of what I do. So a lot of the stuff that I reenact is pre-Civil War. Of course, with going up to Fort Laramie, I'm going to be getting into the Civil War era because Fort Laramie was around clear up in the 1890s. But most of the stuff that I'll be doing is pre-Mexican loop holsters. There's a picture of one. So the person, I forget who it was asking. Yeah, I hit the button, screwed it up. What I found when I was looking there on the internet, this is kind of what the Billy the Kid style was that everybody was showing. And I've got a holster pattern just like that for a 5.5 inch. I'll have to find it. I think the loops that I've got are a lot thinner than that design, but I can modify it easily. Once you get one good pattern for a holster, it's amazing what you can do to modify that, to expand that out to do different styles of holsters. For me, the biggest pain in the butt with making a holster, especially a Mexican loop, is getting that skirt to match up where it matches up right. And I waste a lot of leather on prototypes for them. Prototypes for the holsters for Slim Jims, I usually don't mess up too much on those prototypes because they're pretty simple. You lay the gun down on a line on a piece of paper, lay it over and draw the outline, and then you make the half of the holster you got, and you're pretty much done. It's not to say I don't screw up on prototypes with them, but the skirt ones, trying to get that skirt to match up to where it's good size is kind of a pain in the butt. Scabbard, need a photo of the other side of them holsters. Yeah, they do show the backside on some of them holsters. Some of the holsters, just the really interesting ones, but they don't show. There's some of them in there that they don't show the belt loop attachment. The one that I made for the Walker, that I've got the Marshall style holster, military style. I guess if I can find it, I just put the book away and I get to open it again. It's in this book. So it's this one right here. This guy right there's got it. If you look it up online, it's online. Now, this book says these guys are Californians. Somebody did some research and found out they're actually Texas Rangers. I made a copy of that one, and it's a flap holster, but you can't really see the flap in it because he's got the flap tucked behind the Walker's handle, and you can't tell what kind of a loop he's got, but you can kind of tell where the loop or the belt loop is at by relation where the holster's sitting on the belt. So what I did for my prototype is I used this style of belt loop. The only thing with a Walker is that's really going to put a lot of weight on this. With a Navy, it's not a problem. With a Walker, it gets to be an issue. So I'm probably going to go to a fold-over loop. But that one on there, the only thing you can really tell for the flap how it attaches is they've got a little leather strap on there for a retainer, much similar to this. So I know that the leather flap that comes over has got this kind of securement arrangement, but you don't know the shape of the outline. And unfortunately, I sold the only one I had made, the only one I had finished, so I can't show that one off. But yeah, I made as close a copy of that one as I can make. Trying to see where they show some of the backs of these holsters. So this one here is a real interesting one. This one is a civilian half flap, but then they sewed a skirt on the back to make it a loop holster. So that one's been modified, and they do show the back of that where they show how the loop is sewed on, and they cut the skirt sewed on, and then they cut the loops on it. But yeah, it's amazing. You look at these, and it's you look at them, and you think, well, how in the heck can I take that picture and make a copy of it? Well, if you kind of look at how they put it together and look at where the leather's oriented and such, you can eventually kind of get a pattern to working on it. It's not easy, but it's not difficult either. Okay. Scabbard says, I have a photo of a Smith & Wesson Model 3, and it's a mix of a flap holster and a Mexican loop. That's probably like the one I just showed. If you got that picture on the computer, send it to me on that email. I'd love to see that. Big D says, did you put rivets in the belt loop for the Walker? No, because that one, the one I made that I sold was a prototype. So it had this style. And I posted that picture on one of the forums on Facebook. And, all of the guys said, that loop will probably pull out with the weight of that Walker. And they're absolutely right. It probably would. But in the future, I probably will put a rivet in there. Because one thing I learned with those fold-over loops, when I was working, I carried a Patterson revolver, Bertie Patterson, for a number of years, and I got a holster with it that had that type of loop. And when you use that stuff every day, when you wear it every day, it puts a lot more wear and tear on it than if you're just using it for cowboy action shooting. And the guy hadn't riveted it, and he didn't really do a saddle stitch either. He just sewed it. So after I wore it for 6 months, I noticed the bottom half of that belt loop come out. And the only thing that was keeping it in place was the fact that, it was suede leather on the inside. The belt I was wearing was suede. So the two suedes, and I wore it tight enough that they wouldn't slip. The two suedes there is what kept that holster from falling off the belt. So eventually I took that pattern, I split it up the middle, up stitching, laid it out, drew a pattern, and I made a new holster for it. And I still got that holster, and I still got that I used that same pattern to make the holster for my Pieta Patterson, which has a 9-inch barrel. But yeah, that's one thing. If I start doing those silver belt loops, because I do glue them, and then I do the saddle stitch, but I'm going to try to start using a rivet on there, and hopefully, I one thing I worried about rivets was I'm wearing on the gun, but I noticed when I was setting some rivets the other day on another piece I was working on, not a holster, it was a little cap box I was trying to get fixed up so it was usable again. Those rivets, if you set them good and hard and tight, they set pretty dang low down in the up tight to the leather, so they shouldn't wear too much, I would hope. All right. I'm going to grab my phone here right quick. Make sure somebody wasn't emailing me things that was dinging. You know, it was just folks who was sending me some stuff. So anyway, yeah, there's lots of cool holsters that I would love to make. Here's another one that I'd love to try. I want to get some of these finial button closures. This is a pattern I'd love to try. It's very beautiful. And that's for a excuse me, the forehand and Wadsworth revolver, which is not one that I was familiar with until I read this book. They got another one here for a Merwin Hulbert, which, God, I wish somebody would make a copy of that revolver. That's a nice revolver. Somebody was going to make one there for a while, but I don't think they could get the funding to financial backers to make it. Somebody told me the guys that was making it took the money and ran. Then you get into some really fancy holsters here. They've got a picture with Rip Ford, the Texas Rangers, and you can't really see it real clear, but he's got a pair of Dragoon holsters, and the button closures studs are actually snakes. And I've seen a better quality picture, copy of that picture, and them holsters are fancy. Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff in here. Lots and lots of cool stuff. They've got a holster in here. It's got George Washington carved in the front of it, which I find interesting. And one thing you do notice when they do show the backs of the holsters, those that have that fold over belt loop, one thing they've got in common is a lot of them do have a rivet. So that's something I should probably think about doing when I do future holsters, is doing rivets in that belt loop. Trying to find a picture. It's not in the Mexican loop, I know that, because I was trying to find a picture of the style of belt loop that I usually do on my own personal holsters. There it is. Hell, I went right past it. So this is that style. I don't know how well it'll show, but that's that same style that I was showing earlier that I put on mine. It's real simple. And I never thought about that style until I opened this book and looked at that, and I thought, hot dang. That'd be nice to do. It's a lot easier to sew. Let's see. Early, anybody small game hunting with a 32? Yeah, you posted something about a 32 earlier, and I missed that comment. Sorry about that. I was going to read it, and then I missed it. Looking for a bullet mold for a 32 squirrel rifle. God, the only thing I can say is if you can find one of those Lee round ball molds, that's what I use. And the only thing with them Lee round ball molds is you got to make sure you're using 100% pure soft lead. Because if you start getting into any lead that's got a little bit of hardness into it, the way those round ball molds are designed, when you go to cut that sprue, that ball will actually turn, and then it'll start to egg out the hole, and it'll deform the bullets, and you'll have a hell of a time getting them out of the mold. I ruined a 44 mold doing that with some lead that had a little bit of silver in it. And I don't know, my cousin got that lead. He used to work at a factory where they was doing something chemical thing, mixing stuff. And anyway, they come out, when they get done, they'd have these big sheets of lead that had silver in it and several other things. And they just threw that away. So he always grabbed it for bullets. Well, when he got to where he didn't cast anymore, because he was too old and his lungs wouldn't let him do it, he brought me a bunch of that silver stuff. And God, it made them bullets would shoot so good in my walker. But the thing is I ran that bullet mold pour in it. So I put that lead in a different pot. I use it for if I ever need feel for hard cast lead. I use that. Yeah, I thought about getting a 32 for squirrel hunting, but I was going to order one from Tennessee Valley muzzle loading. But then, I got to looking at the price tag for them to build a rifle, and I thought, do I really want to spend that much money on a gun that I'm just going to hunt squirrels with? And then I walked into Walmart, and they had a 22 Savage rifle for like 80 some bucks. I thought, you know what? I'd spend $80 on that and hunt squirrels just as effectively as $1,000 gun or $1,400 gun, whatever it was. So, yeah, I didn't go with the 32 for squirrel. Like I said, one of these days when I got a little bit more financial freedom, I'll think about it. But I don't want to spend that much money for a squirrel hunting gun. And no more squirrel hunting than I get done around here. Dad and I, last time we shot squirrels in the fall of 2019. We was duck hunting because we was out hunting ducks. Ducks come in, we shot a few of them. And Dad happened to look up and see some squirrels in a tree, and we thought, oh, hell, we'll run over and get some squirrels. And we went over and shot the squirrels, and I made the mistake. And instead of shooting with number 2 steel, I still had BB steel in my shotgun, full choke. Little squirrels up in the tree about 10 yards up, not even that. I'll shoot him in the head. I forgot that my shotgun shoots about that low. And I shot and I hit him right in the butt. I mean, that shot went right up his butt and out his nose. And Dad said he's kind of chawed. And I thought, well, it's steel shot. He ain't going to be chawed so much we can't eat him. Got home and I went to skin him and I grabbed a hold. I did the technique of, cut around the middle and then pull the skin. I pulled the skin. I pulled the squirrel in half and the guts and everything was everywhere. And I told Dad, I said, I don't think I'm going to try to eat that squirrel. Now, Dad's squirrel, he shot that day. He did shoot in the head with his 20 gauge because he can hit him in the head with that thing. My dad and his 20 gauge is deadly on rabbits and squirrels. And he does pretty damn good on ducks too. I took him turkey hunting this past spring, back in 2020. He cannot hit a damn turkey in the head at the same distance. I don't know what it is. He can't hit a turkey. He can knock the head off a squirrel at that distance, but he can't hit a freaking turkey. And a turkey's head ain't much bigger than a squirrel's head. We gave him so much crap for that because he couldn't hit a squirrel. Or couldn't hit a turkey. He shot and missed twice on turkeys. 3 times, actually, because the first turkey that he shot at, he missed the first shot. The second shot, he missed 2. The third turkey, I think that is he would have hit it, but we had 2 turkeys at the same time, and I told him on 3. Well, when I said 3, I pulled the trigger. He hesitated a second, and his bird dropped. I seen his bird drop, and I think he dropped from the reaction of me firing. And when Dad fired, he went over the top of its head. I thought Dad had hit it because I thought I'd seen the pellets hit him. And then I tried to take a shot at him because that turkey wasn't really leaving in a big hurry. And I was following along. And when I shot, I hit a tree branch. So I missed him. He wound up getting away. We never did find him. But that was the last good turkey hunting we had. After that, they was on to us. They wouldn't come into the place. They come in, sit 50 yards away behind a tree brush. They wouldn't come to where you could see them. All right, well, it's 9:30. Chat has really slowed down. So I'll give it a couple more minutes here. If you got any last-minute questions, comments, concerns, throw them in there right quick, and we'll address them. If not, I want to shut it down here pretty soon. But yeah, anybody that's wanting to order, email's up there on the screen. If you want to copy and paste it, it's right there in the chat too. It's not too far up, still down there. Send me an email, tell me what you want, see what we can do. going to check the email right quick and see if anybody has emailed me, because I get the emails on my phone, but I don't get the notifications. And sometimes I've missed a couple orders because people email me and I don't get back to them for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they kind of lose interest. Oops. Yeah, somebody sent me an email. And now the picture don't want to show up, so it's probably because my phone is about maxed out on storage. Saboteur. You would ask for that. So, I did start a filming project on the disassembly and reassembly of a Patterson. And the disassembly part went smooth. Pattersons aren't too particular on the disassembly portion. However, on the reassembly portion, there is a specific way you got to do it, and they are a pain in the ass. I'm going to cuss on this one. They're a pain in the ass. That's all there is to it. 4 hours it took me to get that SOB back together. So I've got the stuff filmed. I just don't feel like going through and trying to edit out that 4 hours of putting it back together. So let me think on it. If I don't get too many more holster orders, if things are kind of quiet and I get a little free time, I may just pull the Pieta Patterson out and see if I can drive that wedge out. It's kind of stuck, but I think I can get it out. I got a brass drift. And I'll show how to take it apart. Now, it's a little bit different than a Bertie. My Bertie, I'm not going to disassemble because I don't want to. If I break any of those parts, I can't replace them. But I'll show it. I'll see if I can get that done. But yeah, that's not a video that I started that project, and oh God, I got so mad. That Pieta Patterson has caused me nothing but grief. There's somebody that posted on one of the Facebook Captain Ball forums that said the 2 happiest days for Patterson owners are the day they buy it and the day they sell it, because they're a pain in the butt. But yeah, I'll look into trying to do that. I'm not going to make a promise, but I'll try. I'll see if I can get one. See if I can remember how to do it. But Pattersons are very intricate. They are very, very intricate. Bad Orc said, I bought a Bertie Ombre with a matte black finish on it. Love it, but the finish is a bit crap. Is it worth the effort of having it sandblasted and cold bluing it? Don't sandblast it. What you can do is you can strip it down with vinegar. Well, no, I take that back. I'm going to take that back because I don't know on that matte finish that would work. I know vinegar will take off irregular bluing. So no, don't soak it in vinegar because I don't know. What I've seen some guys do is take a Scotch-Brite pad and they'll antique one with a Scotch-Brite. Yeah, I'm going to take back what I said on that vinegar. That I wouldn't recommend trying that because like I said, I don't know on that matte finish how that works. Just know that the value of your gun is going to drop significantly once you modify the finish on that. My walkers, I took the finish off the cylinders and they've definitely lost their value. I had a gun salesman see them one day and he ripped me up one side and down the other for modifying. But that wasn't the only thing I did too. I took the finish off the grips because I do like the Bertie finish on the grips. However, it's not historically accurate. From what everybody tells me, it's not historically accurate. So I took my Bertie walkers and I stripped that red finish off of them. And one of them had really, really dark walnut. It was beautiful. I just oiled it. The other one had very light walnut. And so I took some dark walnut dye and I dyed it and stained it. Man, they look beautiful now. In fact, I need to go check them, see if they need oil on the cylinders. But yeah, they're so beautiful after I did those modifications. But yeah, I don't know on taking that matte finish off. The only thing I got against sandblasting is, that sand gets everywhere, and then sand and metal parts don't get along too well because sand is quartz, and quartz is harder than steel. Long Hunter says, "Love your content, man. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it." And like I said, I had plans for the summer to do videos, and then I'm going to quote Al Swearingen again. As Al Swearingen said, announcing your plans is a good way to hear God laugh. So God laughed, and He provided me with a new direction, and I'm just going to go along with it. And I know He's got a plan. It's going to work out. Just keep going. See, Bad Orc says, okay, for sure. It was not an expensive gun in the first place. I had a big pile of 45 LC and no gun for it. And it was worth buying again for the ammo I had. Yeah. And, they are a cheap option. They're not bad. They work as long as it works. I mean, the only reason that I go with the higher price looking guns is historical accuracy. I try to keep mine to where, if I want to use them for a historical impersonation, I've got that option. Because the brass grip frames, I don't know if yours has a brass grip frame, but the brass grip frames on the 73 single actions that are a cheaper option out there, not really historical accurate. I've never seen an original that had the brass grip frames on it, and I've never seen an original that had the black matte finish. They're always blued and case hardened. But yeah, if you want to modify it, yeah, just what I would do is, if you wanted to do that, I would spend a little extra money, being you don't have a lot into the gun, and take it to a professional gunsmith that provides bluing services and say, hey, I'd like to have this actually blued, and see what they can do for you. The one thing about that matte finish is, one thing I've heard from people is that it's more corrosion resistant, whereas bluing is not as corrosion resistant. Early says, put it in a ball mill with abrasive media. Oh, yeah, you could do that, but God, any place that's threaded is going to have that material on the threads. All right, so we're at 9:41. The chat picked up a little longer, so I guess I'll leave it here. Well, tell you what, let's go to 10 o'clock. Heck with it. I'm enjoying this. Looks like everybody else is enjoying it. This is the way this chat usually runs, is I kind of have an idea in mind of when I'm going to stop, and then I keep getting questions. So, but yeah, I'm going to be working on holsters here for the rest of the week. So good time to get your orders in. After, I don't know about how long I'll take orders into March. Just because in April is when I want to be starting to pack up and get moving. And once I take that job up there, I don't know what my schedule is going to be. I'm going to take my leather stuff with me, but keep an eye out, like I said, on Facebook. I plan on doing this. When I get some on eBay, I'll put links on there. So I don't know what I'll have. I'll probably have quite a few Slim Jims, because I had 6 or 7 1851 Slim Jim holsters sitting around, and I put them on eBay, and they sit there for a couple weeks, and all of a sudden they're just gone. So that's probably what I'm going to go with when I make these. I'll make a few of them. I might make a few loop holsters. The loop holsters, one of the things I don't like doing about the loop holsters is the return on them. They use more leather. I don't get as many of them out of a hide as I do with the Slim Jims, because the Slim Jim is ambidextrous. It just depends on what side you put the belt loop on. With the flap holsters, they're always the same. Most of them that I sell are right-handed. They're one side only. And when you try to orient them on a piece of leather, you always have a lot of scrap left over when you do all loop holsters on a hide. Um, but yeah, with the Slim Jims, I get a lot more out of them out of a piece of hide than I do the loop holsters. Early says, "What is my trade?" Or I assume this you're asking me. Um, so I'm a living historian with the Park Service. I used to work at a park down here in southeastern Colorado. I'm not going to mention it because right now we're not on the best of terms, and I don't want to get a bunch of people pissed off and start calling and raising hell. Not that any of you would do that, but where I'm heading this year is Fort Laramie National Historic Site. Um, that's the plan anyway right now. So that's what I do. I portray people from the Old West. Basically, it's a glorified costume job. I get to play like it's Halloween every day of the week. Except I think this year they've got a little different thing, so I will be in the Park Service uniform for so many days out of the week, 1 or 2, I think. And then I'll be in the living history clothing the rest of the time, which I really enjoy that. I really enjoy living like it's in the Old West. So somebody had that comment. I don't remember who had the comment on here, and I said, let's reminisce about the days of the Old West, like or something to that effect. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it's when you get to play a living historian every day. That's fun. That's the best part of the job. And I really love doing the first person. So at the last park I worked at, I tried to get into doing first person as much as I could when I wasn't greeting visitors and when I was in cash register, because how do you portray or play like it's 1846 when you've got a modern cash register in front of you? But once I got into the rooms where there was not really any modern things there except for the light bulbs, I go first person. And a lot of people enjoyed that. There's some people that can't get that through their head that I am portraying like I'm in 1846. It just, they can't comprehend it. I've had people comment say that it makes them feel dumb when you do that. I've had people say that it really adds to the experience, and I enjoy doing it. When you come in, I greet you. I say, "You looking to trade? Did you bring any buffalo robes, any beaver pelts? Do you have any silver? Don't take cash because cash ain't worth anything." Talk to them like that. I really enjoyed doing it. But then like I said, you get those people that it just. Scabbard, been trying to find his image of 2 mariachi-looking guys, both with flapped holsters and open ends. I mean, put it that way, that sounds familiar, but I can't remember. Early says, "I was just curious on electrician. Used to do Civil War reenacting." Electrician, that's a fun job. Speaking of electrician, I was doing some electrical work in my uncle's house the other day, and every time, because I do my own electrical work in my house when I repair things, and I probably did this wrong, but when I put in my light switch from outdoor light, what I did when I put that in is I cut the hot wire and wired that into the switch, because I thought that was the way it was supposed to be done. That's the way I was taught when I was up on the ranch when we did electrical up there. You cut the hot wire and put that on the switch. Went over to my uncle's house the other day to swap out a light switch, the pull chain on his fan. And I thought, okay, well, the hot wire's the one that connects to the switch. So I flipped the switch off, went in there, disconnected the one wire on the chain, disconnected the other, reached up to grab that wire, that black wire, the hot wire, to wire it in, and god dang, I got bit. Oh, I felt so stupid after that. But apparently you don't put the hot switch on the hot line on the switch, but the white, whatever, deadline. So yeah, I'm not a very good electrician, but yeah, I'd love to do Civil War reenacting, but unfortunately where I live, Civil War, there wasn't a lot. There was stuff going on out here, but there wasn't a lot. And there's not many reenactors that do a lot of that out here. I'm not too far from where they had the Battle of Glorieta Pass in New Mexico. That's the only real major thing that took place out here in the Civil War, other than the massacre at Sand Creek, which you don't do living history at those kind of things. Long Hunter says, I work for the Park Service and do living history here in Florida. Nice. Where you do the living history at? There's a couple places I wanted to go besides where I was at, which is 30 miles from where I live, from my hometown. That was what I loved about working there. So one place that I would love to go to is Palo Alto down in southern Texas National Historic Site, because that's where the Mexican War started. Jack Coffee Hayes was down there. Sam Walker was down there. A lot of the guys that was in that Texas history, because Texas Republic and early Texas statehood history is something that that's one of my favorites. I love it because Jack Hayes, Sam Walker, those guys were down there and they raised hell in Mexico. Unfortunately, down there they don't hire very many seasonals either. That or they don't. I don't ever see the advertisements, but that was one place I'd love to do living history. And the other one I've looked at for a long time is Fort Laramie. And that's where I'm heading now. And the other place that I thought about was Fort Union, which is way up in North Dakota on the North Dakota-Montana line. And that one I never get the advertisement for, but God, that one is so far from home. And being I'm an uncle now, my nieces are just as much as my kids as they are my sisters. So, I like spending time at home. And so I'm glad I got this at Laramie because it's close enough I can drive home for a weekend. But yeah, there's not a lot. Well, I'll take that back. There are quite a few living history sites in the National Park Service, but not as many as your regular other parks. And I think living history is something that that needs to stay in the Park Service. And unfortunately, there's places that it's not the forefront anymore. And I'm kind of glad that I'm not going to have to see that at that one spot, because it's definitely not where I was working at. Living history is starting to head backwards, in my opinion. Okay. Bad Orc says, it strikes me that it's sad that it's easier to buy a gun than ammo I have. Yeah. It was funny on that one. I was looking when Winchester come out with that 17 Super Mag, or whoever when the 17 Super Mag come out, which is a 22 Magnum knocked down to a 17. I was going to buy one of those guns, and the gun store said, yeah, he says, we've got a lot of guns. He said, but we can't get ammo for it. And I went in there 3 years later, and they were still carrying some of the guns, but they couldn't get ammo for it. So it's like, why buy the gun if you can't get the ammo? Long Hunter says, Hillsborough River State Park, Fort Cooper, and Dade Battlefield, also Althea Rendezvous. I'm not too familiar with what's back there in Florida, but God, that sounds like that's fun. I assume that's, well, you said that was oh no, maybe you didn't say it was Civil War. I assume that's probably Civil War or beforehand then. See, Bad Work says backorder. God, I want it as a hiking backpacking gun, so maybe I'll just deal with the finish if it's more corrosion resistant. Haven't really researched it past removal. Yeah, I that's what I've heard. I've never dealt with it myself. I don't have one that has a matte finish, but I've heard that they are better against corrosion. So, yeah, just kind of keep that in mind, especially if you're going to use it a lot out in damp environments. I gotta look up that Hillsborough River State Park and see where that's at. There was another place I was looking at when I was just getting out of college. It was in South Dakota. It was a state park, and they did living history, but being as a state park, it's sounds like the state parks, they don't have as much, at least out here in the West, for living history like what the national parks have. Anyway, oh crap! Oh, I got lost here. Too many tabs open. Too many tabs. Okay, Long Hunter says yes. First and second and third Seminole War. Okay, so yeah, that's a cool era of history too. Civil War history is something that always interested me, but a lot of the history that really interests me is history out where I live, and I guess it's just because it's where I live. Yeah, I really like the history out here in the West. There was so much going on out here, and Civil War, you don't. When everybody talks about Civil War, they always think of everything going on back east. Um, they don't talk about what's going on here in the West. Like I said, you got Glorieta Pass battle there, which they called the Gettysburg of the West. And then you got the Sand Creek Massacre takes place, which creates a huge political uproar out here in Colorado. Huge political uproar. There's just so much going on out here. And in the 1860s, and immediately right after the Civil War, you start getting into the Indian Wars. And Sand Creek Massacre basically ignites the beginning of the Indian Wars. Because after that, then you start having things going on all over. Because once they wipe out the Cheyenne at Sand Creek, tribes across the board really begin to distrust the government on a major scale. Up until then, there were tribes that tried to remain peaceful. There were tribes that were not as peaceful. But once the Sand Creek happens, it really just kind of explodes. And then you've got the Great Sioux War that takes place up where I'm heading up into in Wyoming. You get things like Fetterman's Massacre. And then in 68, just 4 years after Sand Creek, the Cheyenne that were attacked at Sand Creek get attacked by Custer down at the Washita. And Black Kettle is in that one as well. He's killed in that attack. And I know there's controversy on that one as to whether, Washita was a massacre or if it was a battle. And if you compare it to Sand Creek, they killed everybody. It didn't matter. They killed children. They killed women. They mutilated corpses. At Washita, I've not read that the troops themselves participated in any mutilations or because they were under orders just to kill the warriors, the men, and bring in the women and children, which Custer did. But there's talks that the Osage Scouts started killing and mutilating women all across the battlefield. So it's kind of a toss up there. Yeah, there's so much that goes on out here in the West during the Civil War and just the post Civil War. All right, getting down to the last few minutes here. Bad Arc says West Wisconsin either freezing or 105% humidity. Yeah, that's one place. Wisconsin, Minnesota. I don't deal well with heat and humidity. I like the warm, but I like it dry because I grew up down here in southern Colorado, where we're part of what's was known as the Great American Desert. High humidity for us is 40% on most of the time. Long Hunter says Fort Foster is the fort at Hillsboro. Okay. I'll have to look into that. Oh, that's interesting. Early says my ancestors were Shawnee, Huron, and Cherokee. The road in front of our house was the Trail of Tears. Wow. So there was a story that went on that my family was Cherokee. And for years I was told that I was a quarter Cherokee. And I finally went, I got to looking on Ancestry and trying to track the records, and I found only one relative that was Cherokee. And I thought, maybe I'm not looking in the right places. So anyway, they come out with a DNA test, and I thought, what the hell, I'll do it. I did the DNA test, and I've come back, I'm whiter than white. I mean, the 63% of my heritage comes from England, specifically Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. Then they divide off another. I don't know why they divided this, but they tell me I'm from England, with Scotland, Ireland, and Wales as the biggest portion. Then they put off this other thing that says I'm Scottish. I'm like 16% Scottish, which includes Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. So it's like, why didn't you just put them together? And then there's another big chunk of Scandinavian, and a little chunk of France, which is in the Normandy region. And if you know much about history, there were Scots that did settle in Normandy, so that's probably why I show up on the Normandy portion of France. There was a little bit of part in Germany, and I did have a great, I don't know how many times, great uncle that we know of in the family that was from Prussia, that immigrated just before the Civil War and fought for the Union in the Civil War. He's the only one that I know of that fought for the Union in my family line. And then it was like there's a bunch of other little stuff, and then there's like 0.1% Lebanese. And I couldn't figure out where in the hell did the Lebanese come from. And I got to talking with some family members that live down in Oklahoma, and they've got a lot of Cherokee friends that went and took that Ancestry DNA, and they were all pissed because they showed up as being, we're talking 100% Cherokee Indians, showed up as 100% Lebanese. So apparently there was a crossover. So I got a little bit of Cherokee in there. But then I found out the reason why the family said I was a quarter Cherokee is because my great-grandfather and grandfather were adopted into the Cherokee Nation. They moved there. My great-grandfather moved there. No, I take that back. He was born there. So my great-great-grandfather moved there in the late 1800s and married a Cherokee woman to get land, farmland. And then she died, but he still had the land. He married a white woman, and then they had kids, and that's my descent, my heritage. And my great-grandfather was one of those kids. They stayed there. And then my grandfather was born there, and my grandfather, when I was little, would always tell stories of what they did on the reservation. Of course, by the time I got old enough to where I started caring about that, he had Alzheimer's and couldn't remember anything. But then, the family lost the farm or whatever it was during the Depression era, and they wound up moving up here to Colorado for work. So I'm second gen in my family, second generation to be born in Colorado. Anyway. Okay, well, it looks like the chat's pretty well kind of simmered down here. It's just a same handful of folks chatting. So it is 10:02. I'll give you 3 minutes to get last minute questions and comments in. 10:05, I'm shutting it down. And it sounds like the wind's coming up. It's supposed to start snowing here tonight, just about now, which, we have a nice 60-degree weather for the last 2 or 3 days. Melted off all the snow we had from this last cold snap that everybody's been feeling. And I just got all the snow melted out of the driveway so I can quit having water back up towards my house. Now we're going to get 6 inches again tonight. So I can't complain too much. We need the moisture. We was in a drought all last year. We lost a lot of our lakes that we have for duck hunting and fishing. So, this moisture is well welcomed. Hopefully we have more water this year to fill our lakes back up. And when I get done at Fort Laramie this year, I should be able to make it back down here just in time for duck season. Hopefully. Early said, enjoyed this immensely. I never participated in a live stream chat. Well, we're glad to have you here. I'm glad to have y'all. Long Hunter says, love your hat, by the way. Question is the maker. So this started life as one of your basic Stetsons that has the cattleman crease down the middle. And this hat I bought when I graduated high school because my other hat, it kind of went to crap. And I wore it for a little while, but it never really fit right. So then I wound up getting another hat that I wore for a long time. But back in 2016, it's 2016 or 2017. It's 2017 because 2016 was a wet year. 2017, we started out the year as a drought. Well, then in July, we got all of our precipitation in one night. It rained 3 inches in a grand total of 20 minutes here. And hailstones like this. The downside of that is that all the drains in this area were plugged up for rainwater. And as I'm up here, wondering whether or not I need to dive under the bathtub or into the bathtub, because they was talking about there might be a tornado in that storm. I noticed there was water starting to come under my front door. I opened the front door and I looked out and I had that much water standing out in the driveway. So I grabbed this hat because it was just sitting here on a hat rack. I threw it on my head because I didn't want to rain my other one because I wanted some protection from the giant ass hailstones that were falling down. I put this on, cinched it down as tight as I could. I ran outside. I had my duster on. And my saving grace that night was Grandma had bought 6 bags of manure to put in her flower beds. And they were sitting right out in front of my door. I grabbed them things and I threw them in front of my door and I made this little sandbag wall to keep the water from coming out. And it worked damn good. And the whole time, I'm getting pelted with rain. And I look over and my dad's got the same, because he lives across the street from me. He's got the same problem. The drain, the drainage little bar pit runs down the road across and right down beside his house. Well, that was all filled in with tree litter because the guy that owned that piece of property didn't really want the water draining down there anymore, going into his corrals that he put in. Well, water was backing up. He was over there trying to help Dad, and he said, I don't want this water in my corrals, but it's better than corrals in your house. Anyway, we run over there. It's pelting, pissing rain on everybody. We're sitting there. Dad's running a broom. Mom's running a broom to get the water out of the door. Me and the neighbor are sitting there with hose digging water out. And at this point, I am soaked to the bone. We just nicely got done. The rain quit. But, God, there was 8 inches of water standing at the end of my driveway in the bar pit there. And the water was just having a hell of a time just going anywhere. It came so fast it had nowhere to go. And we had standing water around here for days. But anyway, this hat got completely soaked. It was soaked to the point where it was almost just hanging down off my head. It was a sopping piece of felt. So I come in and I thought, you know what? I really don't like that cattleman style on there. This thing's wet. I'm probably going to get to sleep tonight. Tomorrow's my day off anyway, so screw it. So I just put it on my head, got in front of the mirror after it dried out and quit dripping. And I just reached up and I just went around, folded it down around my head, got it shaped the brim. That's all there was to it. So if you want this style of hat, just go buy you a Stetson. I think it ran for about $200 now, $300 somewhere in there. When I bought it, I got it on sale for $80. Just soak it in your shower. You don't have to get it as sopping wet as it was when I got it in the rain. Just get it wet and shape it. And once it dried out, it's still stiff. It's softer than it was, but it's fairly stiff, fairly rigid. It's held its form. Anyway, I'm over 2 minutes on my limit. Nobody else has said anything other than Bad Orc said, have a good night. So have a good night at Bad Orc. And to all y'all, I was happy to have those of you here. Glad for you to join in. If you have any orders for holsters, if you want a holster made, send me an email. Tell me what you got. We'll try to figure something out. And hopefully, we'll have some more content on the YouTube. But unfortunately, like I said earlier, I don't know how that's going to work this summer, but we'll do our best. I'll try to, we'll do some live chats, I'm sure, throughout the summer. But until next time, folks, y'all take care. Have a good night. God bless y'all. And we'll see you next time. Okay, where's it? There it is. Adios.